across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, I've just got to apologise to you if you're watching or listening, because I don't know how to start this show this evening. The stupidity that I've seen in the mainstream media this week. Remember, we have spent 3 weeks trying to persuade the British public, we being the BBC, that there's going to be an invasion of Greenland. And then, literally the deal that me and Asher told you America was going to do with Greenland happened.
Well, he listens to the show. He gets a lot of his ideas from this.
Equally, I want to say something, and I'm not going to labour this point because I'm slightly involved. Really, really upset to see, again, Republicans overseas UK, which is Donald Trump's party in the UK, have been infiltrated in attacks at their first inauguration of Donald Trump party, first anniversary. I'm frustrated that the police are not willing to prosecute people with aggravated trespass. I just want to say to you, I don't mind if you agree or disagree with me and Asher, but when people try and disrupt things, when people try and shout down, when people try and stop debate, that really, really irritates both of us. Okay, look, I just want to say this more than anything else. I'm really annoyed with the government of this country, and I'll tell you why. This, let's shut the hotels. Okay, great. And move them to army barracks. No. Let's stop the small boats. Let's fly them in instead. We're talking about numbers, not the precise details of how they got into the country and what they did. Look, I think this government is finished. I think that they are going to remove Keir Starmer. And so we've asked Pete Barnes to come in specially early in the show to talk about this Andy Burnham thing. Yeah. So I'm going to say to you, Pete, before we start, I've got a great deal of love for the Labour and Trade Union movement, which I believe has been hijacked by people who are much more interested in transgender... I was about to say it wrong then. Transgender issues. Look, I would love to see a rejuvenated Labour Party, you know, take on the issues of the working man and whatever. Andy Burnham in Gorton. Right, so first of all, do me a favour. Explain the details. So Andy Burnham wants to knife Keir Starmer. Then there's an issue.
Metaphorically.
Obviously. Knifing is a political term, not literally. So, Pete, I wanted you to go through a series of issues. Point number one, Andy Burnham is the Mayor of Greater Manchester. Great. There is a space in Gorton. Why? The NEC, what? What happens next?
Yeah, so basically Andrew Gwynn, who is they're citing illness, and from what I know, he is actually very seriously ill, and he is stepping down. He's actually resigned as an MP, and this opens up the seat for Andy Burnham. And basically, Burnham needs to be an MP to become the leader of the Labour Party. It's the only way you get to do it.
Can I ask a lord and do it?
No. Can I ask a really rude question?
Yes.
Right, so...
It's never stopped you before and after.
So, obviously, Andy Burnham, Lee, where I'm from, Wigan, next door, where you're from. OK, so there was an issue with Andy Burnham, and it was this. There was a real concern about losing to Reform. Historically, Gorton was ultra-safe Labour. I mean, not even Wigan. I mean, ultra-safe. Yeah. Here is my rude question. Has there been demographic change, which mean that it's no longer the people that used to live there? Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I know what you're saying, and it's quite interesting because it's still a studenty area, so it's a whole mix. So everywhere there's a student kind of base, it is a mix of everybody because it tends to be lower. It's a lower cost of living there.
Yes.
So you get literally all types of people. So it's actually quite difficult. I do think that Burnham's personal brand, still in the Greater Manchester, is very strong.
Yes.
But the one thing I don't think you could count out is an incredibly motivated Reform UK base.
Yeah, but let me ask you,
isn't there stuff with a bit, because they had a grooming gangs inquiry there, and there's that guy.
There's a lot of baggage around.
But you know, a lot was covered up when he was sort of involved in the report.
But doesn't a bunch of guys from, so I don't know Gorton, if they were Lee or Wigan, they'd go, actually, you know what? We're fairly sympathetic to Reform, but we're going to vote for Burnham anyway, simply because Starmer's just a nightmare.
Yeah, I think that, yes. So this is the big problem that Andy Burnham's going to have, is his personal brand stronger than the hatred of Keir Starmer? And I don't know the answer to that.
But it's ultra safe.
It is very, very safe. It's like a 13,000 majority, but it's all about turnout. I think the thing that's got to really let the Labour Party down is their base isn't going to turn out.
Sorry,
rather than switch.
I did cut across Asher there, but he asked how serious is the grooming gang issue in that area?
Because reform will use
Do we know?
that.
Yes.
I mean, if we don't know...
I have to admit, in that particular constituency, I don't know. But Andy Burnham has got his hands
in the Greater Manchester report, and he was obviously the mayor and involved in that.
He was involved in
the
the kind of in the Oldham situation where he got the council to shut down an investigation, and then it reopened, and nobody told me the material difference as to why it was open and then it was closed. So there is something to answer when it comes to Andy Burnham.
So here is the worst question I've ever asked you. Right?
There we go. That's
as a Conservative strategist. So there is obviously the approval of the National Executive Committee. Now, I know if this was the Conservative Party, if this was the Lib Dems, if this was Plaid Cymru, if it were whatever, actually, even if the NEC hated somebody or there was a majority, they would put them through. I get the impression that when people say the Labour NEC might stop him, they might actually do it. So the point I'm making is the Conservative Party board would go, God, we can't stand that guy, but we'll let him through anyway.
Yes.
Is he going to be selected?
Well, you make a very good... It's a good point to bring up the kind of Stop Andy Burnham campaign that is actually being moved by a lot of people because they are very scared of him at number 10.
Sorry, I should just say, the NEC is proposed, or the suggestion is, they'll make it an all-women shortlist.
Yes, so that's the one that they floated out. I think that is just to kind of set everybody kind of, what are you doing? The reality is, I do think it will be much more of a kind of anointment from the NEC. You know, the way that these things kind of go when there's got such a high-profile situation. I don't think they are that stupid to block Burnham.
But surely they lose the seat.
Yes, and I think that's the sacrifice they might be willing to make. Because think about it, we're 3 years away from a general election. You get rid of Andy Burnham from any senior position ever, in terms of like the period, and he's out in the cold then. That's the thing for Andy Burnham. That's the risk as to why a lot of people are thinking he might not even put his name forward.
Here is the stupidity, I think, of modern politics. So, I work with Ash and I work with you. Right. Now, obviously, inevitably, people clash with each other. And you and I have done that many times. If I was Keir Starmer, I would go, what a nightmare my cabinet is. All right, Andy Burnham's a challenge, but at least I've got something half good. And he's only half good, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But the problem... he's half good, but he's 100% better than the cabinet. So his political weather vane is one of the best. The reason he ran across the Greater Manchester mayor was because he saw the Corbyn problem coming and hop skipped and out, and he knew that he was never going to survive.
He's got something about him that the others don't.
Yes,
not too much more.
He's alive.
A little bit more.
Yeah, basically he has a pulse. But
Can I tell you a dreadful story about Andy Burnham? So I do like Andy Burnham, and I'll just give you a little bit of background. My dad obviously was a boss of the co-op, and my dad is from the area, and my dad's massively into football. Now, of course, Andy Burnham comes as the MP for Lee and builds the sports village and all that. So my dad likes him, genuinely likes him.
Was he a Wigan fan, your dad, was he?
No, I'm from Lee. Oh, let's not get into it. Let's not get into
There's
it.
a desk
no
between
football
us.
club in Lee.
Right. Let's not get into these towns that are 3 miles apart and hate each other, right? You know, we'll do. So my dad really likes Andy Burnham, but I think one of the problems you've got with Burnham is that I just don't see him as a real star.
Yeah, I always think he reminds me of a Thunderbird. Do you know the way that he looks and walks and everything? It's my thing with Andy Burnham is he was perfect for the Blair era of politics, that polished politician. He's not got that kind I'm like a normal person.
Warmth to the people.
I think the other thing was this. The other thing was this. Right, so this is not important to the viewers and listeners that there was an argument about a train station in Loughton. Doesn't matter where Loughton is. It doesn't matter.
I'm interested about that.
Doesn't matter.
What happened?
No, the audience aren't, right? So that's not... Right. So I said to Andy Burnham, I said, one of the big problems is actually that lots of people from that area get on at Newton and Willows station, and that is in Merseyside, which means they have to pay extra if they go to Manchester. He said, what we need to do is build another station 2 miles down the road. No. What you have to do, is have a shared thing.
Oh,
no.
No,
not a £20 million new station.
Yeah. I completely agree. I know the story.
With Scousers,
then he said, well, we can't do that because that's in Merseyside. No, you do a deal, right? Yeah. We're not building a new... He's one of those people who works within the system.
Oh, yes, definitely. But so is Gwyn. And that's the big thing. He's like a political ballast because he has been running a lot of the operations on the ground. He used to be head of Labour campaigns. So, like, he knows the operators, he knows a bit. So he could actually position it, and he is known as a Burnham ally, for Burnham to get it no matter what. He can push the sell.
Can I ask you another very hard question? Look, it's clear that Nigel Farage is in the doo-doo for all of these defections. He said he's going to get a credible Labour person. I remain to be convinced.
Yeah.
Graham Stringer?
He's the odds-on favourite. I think
that's not going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that's why it was delayed. I think he's not as he's in a lot of doo-doo in terms of the public, but what we saw the other week was actually about bringing the base to heel finally. Because let's be real, we've just got a couple of by-elections that have just gone, they're not happening, despite the fact that he said they were dishonourable. And the base went, yeah, we don't care. That's what this was all about. It was about stress testing the base as to how far they can move from protest to professional political party. And it was a kind of rinsing out of the kind of, oh my God, he's done this and that. They've gone now. He's now got the base under control, which has been a big problem for Reform for a very long time. Now he can literally have all these missing expenses, and they go, we don't care. So it's a very interesting time for Reform.
I'm in a slightly odd position with Reform. So I'm kind of in the group that everyone hates. So, as you know, I believe that the Conservative Party has been divided by the incompetence of Conservative campaign headquarters. So, look, as far as I'm concerned, we got pushed out. Right. When people say Reform needs to be a whole new thing, I mean, it's just not, is it?
It's not.
Tice, Farage, Youssef,
I think
Lee Anderson.
Go one step further than that. I actually think what we're going to see is the normalisation of a pact between the Tories and Reform, because Reform haven't got the machine, the Tories have the machine. So Reform is going to keep the...
But they're leaving that machine and joining Reform, aren't they?
But not only certain people. In terms of that's why the deadline is there. It's to stop it's to stop the nonsense. The Tories stabilise, because you need a stable kind of ecosystem for this to work. And this is what it is. I think this has been the long-term plan, because Farage isn't an idiot. He hasn't got the people. He hasn't got the money and the infrastructure. So no. They're going to work for Farage eventually in a coalition, and that's what all of this is about. It's about making it able not for Farage to go to the Tories, for the Wets to go to Farage on the knees.
I think
that's what all of this has been about.
I will tell you something, Pete. Not only do I think you're right, I think it's inevitable. And I'll tell you why. We keep talking on this show about the sergeants, right? Every single year, 650 young Conservative chairmen across the Conservative Party. If Nigel Farage wins 325 seats, he needs 325 parliamentary assistants, 325 junior parliamentary assistants, 325. They haven't got the manpower. I think what he has to do is drill the Conservative Party for people. Now, do you know what I think he'll do?
I've been calling it spare parts.
Do you know what I think he'll actually do? I think that he will go into coalition with the Conservative if he wins, and he'll insist that Jack Rankin is the Deputy Prime Minister, and he will take all the Conservative staff.
I think that is the plan, because it's all about what happens if there's a hung Parliament. And I think this is the problem that Farage has got, because he likes an escape route, and I think this is kind of his insurance policy if he doesn't get this big majority, because I don't think he's going to be able to get the policies in place. All the people, it's the money. The money is the big problem.
But with respect, Pete, you're not talking about the big majority. You're saying that if he gets 400 MPs, I don't think he will, but he literally can't staff it.
Yeah.
So if he goes into coalition with the Conservatives, at least he has them. Now, people are going to wonder why I'm talking about Jack Rankin for Deputy Prime Minister. I think the reason is this. In that scenario, the Conservatives melt to like 30 seats.
Yeah.
But remember, they've got loads of people on the ground. Right. Rankin is in Windsor, so he's a friend of mine, which is not why I'm saying it. But he is in a rock-solid seat that Reform cannot touch. Therefore, he's not competitive with them. But next, he's fairly sympathetic as he can be in the home counties, but he's somebody Farage can work with.
Yeah, definitely. I think they will stand in they'll get a candidate for every seat. Not every seat is equal. Yeah. So the funding won't go very heavily in areas where they need the Tory, because the Tory party is designed for one thing and one thing alone: governing. But everything is built for governing, and Reform need that, and they haven't got the time.
Labour are built for opposition. They're not used to governing, and we can see that, can't
Reform, the Tories are literally built as the party of government.
But actually, let's go a bit further than that, Pete. So I always like to teach people a little bit and pull the curtain back slightly. So just to explain what the Conservative Party system does, it basically says, right, here is our chance of winning this seat, which is, something like we've got 20,000 people on the system that'll vote for us, we need 23. But it will not exactly, but almost spit out the cost.
Yes.
It'll say, in order to win, in order to win Wigan, it would take us 50,000 man-hours and £1 million.
Yeah, it's
however,
modelling.
to win Tatton, it would take us 10 grand.
Yeah.
And they'll start doing their decisions based on that. So what they'll do is they'll turn around and they'll say, we need to win X number of seats to get. That's why quite often you will not see leaflets from them if you are in certain places.
Yeah, definitely, because it's what we call a contestable seat. It's the data. The Reform don't have that data and that infrastructure, the institutional memory to run a national campaign that they're going to need like 10 times over to just get over the kind of basics of it. You know,
the foundations.
But it's not even the foundations that they need. They need the foundations of the foundations that they just don't have.
I remember.
It's the time. If Starmer collapses, this is the risk because there's nowhere near ready, let alone anything else.
But okay, there's loads of things I can say here. But Pete, right, if I made you the chief executive of the Labour Party, right?
Why would you do that?
What would be because you're actually competent. What would be the I mean, who is a Starmer? Who's a Starmer?
Yeah, so they're called the Starmer Troopers, and I don't know who they are. I genuinely have no idea.
They're not in good places, though, are they?
No, this was always Starmer's big problem. I remember this being a thing when he ran to be leader, is he didn't have a group. So he didn't have
he
like
hadn't
the
been in
Corbynies.
politics that long.
Yeah, that's the big point. But also, he did that stupid thing where he said one thing to one group, one thing to another group, and then when he got into power, everyone went, cough up.
Well, he does that with the people. He does that. He doesn't. Anyway, look, we've got to take a little break. He's 03444 999 1000. Howard says Starmer was 10 in 1978. He didn't go through the bombings, Howard. We're not called Howard. Anyway, 03444 991 1000. Migrant camps next with Samara Gill's report back after these special commercials.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and I'm really annoyed about this next story that we're going to talk about, which is cancelling elections up and down the country. 4.5.
We are going to have a look, because our trial before the break, we're going to look at this migrant camp report from Samara.
I wasn't listening.
You weren't listening.
I knew you weren't listening.
Anyway, look, let's have a look at this, and we are going to talk about that.
It's normally him that's not listening.
We are going to, I don't know, what's going on, but we are going to talk about that, cancelling elections. But let's have a look at what Samara did, talking about these migrant army camps. What the...
I've been speaking with people who are absolutely enraged. Property prices, they think, have just plummeted in their local area. There's someone who's got an actual patch of land that is right where the barracks are, and they can already see men loitering. They're worried about the safety of their women and girls. This is a town that has been absolutely sort of plunged into mayhem because of the government's choices. Now, Shabana Mahmood has obviously said that this is a good thing because she wants to get migrants out of hotels. That's the whole Labour edict, is that they want to get migrants out of hotels and into army facilities that are a little bit less cushy and luxury. But the effect is still same on the communities. There are still men being placed into communities which we know nothing about. So I think the root cause, it has not been solved, and there are plenty of people out here that I'm just looking at behind me that are fearing at the moment and feeling like their town is a little more unsafe today.
I mean, I just despair.
I mean, what are they doing in military training camps? I mean, it didn't look right. If you live in the area, give us a ring, tell us what's going on, or even if you don't live in the area, what do you think about what's going on? They're just getting rid of the hotels, but like you say, Andre, that wasn't the point. It doesn't matter where they're living in, HMOs or hotels or houses, new houses that are being built that were meant for people who've been 10 years on the waiting list get put back to the bottom.
There was £100,000 magically found to build new council houses specifically for illegal migrants, and then they go back into kind of general pop in 10 years' time. So everybody else has to wait yet again. This is literally because the Labour Party lack the spine, the political capital, and the will to do what is necessary and dismantle the legal framework and actually deal with the problem.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Until we do that,
I'm going to have an even bigger go at the Labour Party, because I'm sick of the holier-than-thou attitude.
Yes.
Right. Let's just be clear, all of these, I'm interested in human rights. Human rights of the Hong Kong Chinese in the United Kingdom, they didn't give a toss. Not a toss. And the reality is, all of these human rights lawyers who care about our people, actually all they care about is supporting the enemy.
Oh, 100%. To use that example, we passed an act of parliament recognising the genocide of the Uyghurs. We've just put the Chinese embassy smack bang in the middle of London. And they say that they care about human rights. Spare me the nonsense, the drivel. It is payload polishing by people who do not understand what they're doing. This is what I've come to. It's not that they're...
But they know what they're doing. They disrupted that the trial of the Chinese spies by saying we can't prove China's an enemy of the country. Ridiculous.
That's our favourite friend Jonathan Powell, but it could be Jonathan Powell, but it's not Jonathan Powell.
Just to be clear, we have never accused anyone of being a Chinese spy. And in other news, Jonathan Powell was involved in that case.
Yes, exactly.
Right, so those two are unrelated.
Yes.
Always remember that Jonathan Powell is unrelated to that issue of Chinese
And now
spies.
They're building the super dungeon in the centre of London.
Don't even get me started on that. I could not believe... I can, because it's the Labour Party, but... This one in Crowborough is very interesting because it's the first army barracks, and it's the way they did it in darkness that doesn't sit right. But then if they did it during the day and they then got attacked, there would be a whole other problem. So no matter what they did, they were done for. But they just don't put them there. Don't have them in the country. This is like you said, they're just moving the pieces around the board, not taking them off the board, which is what people
They've
want.
already been shown to actually take people and put them in their embassies, treating them as police stations. There's people from Hong Kong who will be terrified that this is what's going to happen to them. They'll get bundled in a van, taken into the basement, and that's it. We'll never see them again.
I did a podcast with an actual survivor. She managed to escape, God knows how, and you could tell. It haunts her, I think harrowing.
I think the other thing that's shocking. So everybody knows that. Obviously, the American embassy, when it moved to Vauxhall, also is CIA European headquarters. We don't have a problem with that. They want to be near MI6. What is amazing about the Chinese embassy is that hundreds and hundreds of people will live in it.
Yes.
That is to say, they will fly into Heathrow. They will be driven to they will never leave the embassy. There will be no engagement with anybody. They're not talking to anybody.
It's a city in a city.
They want to keep 7 other buildings as well. They've got big other buildings.
It's a super embassy.
The old embassy they want to keep, the one over the road.
They put all their operations in one. So they have 7 throughout London. Why they have 7? There's a bigger question. But it's all into one, and they seem to think they can mitigate. Which everyone's like, you shouldn't have to mitigate a problem. You shouldn't have the problem. But again, we are so China is so far inside us that they're coming out our throat really. So
but everyone's saying they had the FBI, MI6, MI5. They're all saying don't do it. How dare they not listen to the security people?
They didn't listen to our own security people.
That's what I mean.
Peter Mandelson in charge.
At least the one thing you could have done. The one thing you could have done is gone. We're insisting on relocating the Wapping telephone exchange because it's literally inside the... I mean, it's not...
There's a small part of me that rather enjoyed
centimetres from
how
the wall.
British it was that we were relying on a planning decision by a local council to decide a super embassy in geopolitics. Have you ever heard of anything more British in your life?
But they were apparently Westminster were against it.
Oh, yeah. There's rumour that they're going to try and launch a judicial review.
I think they'll win that, by the way.
I think they will because of ministerial predetermination, which you can't do. And
do me a favour, because I think they'll win it for that reason. But ministerial predetermination, a lot of people will be unfamiliar with that just very quickly.
So basically, you can't announce something and then look into it. Yeah, so
it's like a planning permission building it before you plan it.
So essentially what happened was they committed to saying yes before they looked at the evidence, and that is illegal. Now, of course, the slight problem is if they take it back and do it again. But one would have thought if what you could do, here's what the Chinese could have done. They could have said, I think reasonably, oh, by the way, if anyone says it's not an embassy, it's a chancellery, I'll kill them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because that is the union flag thing and very irritating. Right. So the Chinese could legitimately say, look, we've outgrown our embassy. We've got 7 buildings. We want to relocate into one place. And that's fair enough.
No, they want to keep the other buildings.
What they could then say is, they could say, the reason we bought this building is because it's a good building. We will pay for the cables to be moved. We recognise, but no one did. I mean, the whopping telephone exchange
also
inside.
the big problem that nobody realises that China turned off the water and electrics to our embassy in Beijing.
You know, we basically
pressure.
Who cares? Let them have no water, but buy bottled water.
But there is also the fact that where Starmer's going to China is actually to kind of do the golden era 2.0. In other words, they're renormalising relations, and we need access to China, which is why he's taking one of the largest business contingents ever. It's huge. It's loads of people going. I think
here is what I would say in China. Here's what I'd say. I'd say, look, congratulations on your economic success, but it is based on stealing our intellectual property. Always remember something. Portugal gives more in terms of rights to music artists than China. Portugal.
I think there is, in a couple of months, we're going to see something floated back out there, and I think it is a free trade agreement with America. I think this is actually part of a much bigger plan, and it involves the Troubles Bill and the Northern Ireland situation. Because one thing that's been blocking free trade is actually the Friends of Ireland caucus in Congress that don't like the 2003 Act, when this immunity clause. That's now gone. Trump wants the free trade agreement. We get out of China. He gets an ally back. There's a lot of moving around.
What about the customs union, though? Because that'll scupper all our deals. We do most of our trade outside the EU. I mean, that's utterly ridiculous.
That's why Trump today has basically told... that's why you've got the border peace. It's kind of bypassing a lot of the old institutions. The UN is now dead.
Is it all over now with that WEF visit? It does seem that it was a pivot point and things are going downhill for those the one world order merchants.
I support. Can I tell you why I support the Board of Peace? So first of all, when the UN was established, I would have been an enormous supporter of it because I would have misunderstood. Right. When it was created...
It's like the EU ago.
Yeah, when it was created, they were saying, right, we need all countries to talk to each other. We need a forum that works. What we didn't realise is what it would turn into, which is votes at the UN. The vast majority of delegates come from horrendous, undemocratic states.
Yes. If you look at Zelensky's speech today, swap out Zelensky and put Trump in it, it's exactly what he's been saying. It's quite interesting that everywhere has become a talking shop, not an action. Everything Zelensky said, it's about doing something. And it is very interesting to see that now that the Council of Europe is meeting and they're talking about free trade with America. There's been a lot of movement today.
By the way, Barnes, you and me, if we'd been Greenland, would have done over Trump. Can I tell you why? When he said Greenland should be America, we'd have said yes.
Yes.
Right? 2 senators and a congressman. I mean, that would have been... he couldn't have passed it. So just to be clear, the Senate is often 50-50 split. There's only 100 senators, 56,000 people electing 2 senators. He'd have pooed himself.
Oh, he would have. And I think that would have ruined a very big plan that involves a lot of players. And I think you could... I think you could throw Iran in there, you could throw Venezuela, Turkey, and it's all about containing China.
Before we go to the break, can I just say one thing about the BBC? So I think most people who've been on holiday in Cyprus, they've gone to Larnaca Airport, they've been to Ayia Napa, they've been through Decalia Garrison, which is British sovereign territory. You know, this whole BBC, there's going to be a war with Greenland thing. That was a low point, wasn't it?
I mean,
everybody knew it was going to be a sovereign.
They have a low point every week, the BBC.
I mean, I'm not being funny. There was somebody here on Talk today, and I was like, he was like, we just don't have to listen to him anymore. We're done. Orange Man bad. It's all finished. It's done. He's finished.
On Julia's show,
I was like, you're going to really regret saying that if like today has happened, and it has. And Donald Trump has just basically run rings around the UN, the EU, the old world order is dead.
But when? So I mean, I watched the BBC and they were saying, I mean, they were literally British and German forces have arrived in Greenland ahead of an American invasion. No, the Americans have said, we are concerned that you can't protect the place. So the British and Germans turned up to prove that they might be able to. Right. There's no war with Greenland.
I know. It's also the fact that...
3 weeks they've been on about that.
But that was all put to bed today with Rutte, the head of NATO, when he said... Donald Trump was right to bring up this issue. It wasn't that just they gave him what he wanted. They validated his argument. And they said that everything that everybody else has been saying is nonsense.
But just to be clear, before we go to the break, and we are over, I apologise. Just to be clear, this is a country that has spent billions on a base in Diego Garcia, but because they don't have sovereign rights over it, some idiot in Downing Street has given it to Mauritius.
Yeah.
Right?
And paid him 33 billion.
I mean, at the end of the day, what Donald Trump is saying, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to insist, if I spend $100 billion on a new base, which, by the way, if it's a submarine base, it might be what... I'm not allowing some idiot in Denmark to give it to whoever.
Yeah, and I think in I think it was in his WF speech, he said, no one's going to go and fight for a lease.
Yeah, that's right.
They just sell. Yeah.
It's got to be freehold or nothing.
In the week that the same deal went radioactive, because remember, in 99 years, whichever way you look at it, that $100 billion base goes to China for free.
Yeah.
Trump's like that. America can't have that for national security reasons.
I do think
they'll probably invade.
But a lot of things actually about containing China. I think we've seen a lot of moves recently, and it involves all the Gulf states, Venezuela. A lot of this has been about moving.
I'll tell you something now, as you know, I know a fair amount about Eastern Europe. When Russia started surveying the internet cables in the Baltic, that's when America, forgive the French, shit itself.
Yes.
Because when they smashed one of the cables, the reality is, if you disconnect 2 or 3 cables at Greenland, you cut the internet off between Europe and America.
Yes, and it is...
And the war is over.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that we keep losing submarines and losing vessels. That's why Trump is absolutely apoplectic about it, because we keep losing things around there.
If there was a war, they disconnect the internet day one.
Also, it's full of, a lot of people aren't talking about, it's full of rare earth minerals, which is the new oil. Yeah. That's going to be the new thing.
Why do you think Trump's in Ukraine?
Exactly, that's got a massive amount of lithium.
But realistically, the one is actually, it's the Iron Dome protection. It's he's got to get the Gold Dome, which I think is very Trump.
Golden Dome.
I've got to be honest with you. I remain a sceptic on rare earth. I'll tell you why. They're not that rare. It's just most people don't want to dig them up because it makes the place a dump.
It's horrendous. It makes a horrendous mess.
It's rare to find people to dig them more than anything.
They get the kids slaves to do it, don't they? All these woke people getting the slaves. They get the kids slaves down the mine. We don't care about them. 0344 499 1000. Give us a ring or leave us a WhatsApp message on that very number, but we'll ring you back to save you a few bit of cash. And next, Donald Trump again, who is suing for $5 billion because he's been debanked. And he's going to be even worse than Farage to JP Morgan. It's Talk. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what? We were talking in the break about the fact that some people have been a bit annoyed about my recent speech about Craig Guildford, the Chief Constable of the West Midlands. Now, I'll tell you what I'm not going to do anymore.
Former Chief Constable.
I'm not going to use the phrase should get the death penalty because it doesn't exist in Britain. So we're going to now say should get life imprisonment. But I want to ask you, Pete, am I right or wrong in what I said outside Downing Street the other day, which is this? There was a grotesque violation of this country when a group of jihadis, probably backed by Iran, said that if a single Jew comes to Aston, we will kill them. And then the police in the West Midlands not only covered that up, but fabricated evidence to blame the Jews for it. And then I said that Craig Guildford and I appreciate he thinks that he's in the right. I think he should. I think it should be a serious criminal offence when he's done.
Why has that man not got handcuffs on?
Is it not a criminal offence in public office? He's lied.
The tolerance for that is incredibly high. So they are looking into it, but the one that they need to do is to get contempt in Parliament first. That kind of adds on the pressure, and there is it kind of
from
one
what he
step,
said at that meeting.
Yeah. You know, my favourite thing of that is, well, nobody asked me. I was that's not a thing. You know, you were sitting on this information.
That means he knows he should have said.
Yes, and that's the big point.
I'll tell you what. I watched the post office thing, and one of the investigators, that Scouser, right. Honestly, I'd have refused to go, right, and I'd have been thrown in prison for refusing to go, contempt, right, because his case was so bad. He stood there and they went, right, so you gave testimony to say that it was definitely true that you couldn't enter the Horizon system through. That's what I got told. Well, you didn't say that. Yeah. You said that you are an expert. Well, I'm not an expert. I just read. Right, you know, if Craig Guilford had said the following when they said, how was this compiled? If he just said, this is an intelligence product, it comes from multiple sources. However, I've reviewed it and it's correct. If you say, it's from, well, I didn't know. Well, they're not asking you whether you know. Yeah. They're asking you whether you're right.
You've answered a different question.
By omission.
It's answering a different question. And this, I think, what we actually need to start doing is beefing up committees in the Parliament who actually can have the power to actually hold people accountable.
I mean, but the Home Office used to be able to remove him. They changed that law.
I don't like the idea of the Home Secretary having that direct power, but she does actually have it.
She should have it.
Under the 1998 Policing Act, she actually does have it.
They used to have it in the old days.
But imagine I come on this show talking about absolute liability, and Pete, forgive me for saying this, but imagine I come on this show now and say, Pete Barnes was convicted of burglary last year, and then go to the regulator and say, I believe that to be true. I'm sorry, they're not going to say, oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to say, no, I'm sorry. You went on your show and you defamed this man in contrary to every... I thought somebody told me.
Yeah, I know. It is the lack of that, of having the
fact
standards.
He doesn't know that matters.
Yes, particularly considering he's in the police, because you have to remember the police in this country is policing by consent.
Yes,
and that aspect of it is so important, and trust was basically in the garbage anyway. I mean,
and policing without fear or favour as well. He's broken his oath.
Paula Venables, I did my best, $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid your best wasn't good enough.
Not good enough. And the fact he was allowed to retire.
I couldn't run the post office either. But I'm not earning $500,000 a year doing it.
I look at Michael Stewart, who ran Prevent. Then Axel would have come out known three times.
Look at Cressida Dick.
I mean, remember
John Charles Menezes died because of her incompetence.
Remember something about Craig Guilford. Imagine that was a court of law, right? He is literally standing there going, the evidence I presented, I know to be true. He hadn't even read it.
Yes. I know. Also, with him, the fact he implicated a foreign police force. And nobody seems to care about that. The Dutch must have gone apoplectic.
Well, they did. They wrote back saying this is a load of bunkum.
You know, and then it's the fact that he used some kind of AI tool, like to kind of...
For a match that never even occurred, West Ham, Maccabi Tel Aviv, was like fantasy football with that copper.
The importance of that entire situation, I think, is being radically underplayed, or people don't understand why
people don't have accountability these days. And, you know, that is the epitome of it, isn't it? And Starmer's in a bit of fact, it's all, no one ever retired.
Do you know what I'd have done if I'd have been Craig Guilford? I'd have told the truth. I'd have said, if Maccabi Tel Aviv come here, there will be a war.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you want me to deploy 5,000 police officers to stop it, I'm fine with doing that. But what they're not willing to say is, it's a highly hostile local population.
Yes, there is also a rumour flying around that Shabana Mahmood had at least an idea of what was going on. If she sat on this, that is a big problem.
Well,
we had
this conversation the other week, right? So the Home Secretary didn't look at it. You know, Asher got me on this one. The whole Keir Starmer. I didn't look at that particular page.
Plausible deniability.
I mean, a group of people come over from Israel for a football match, and the Home Secretary's not looked at the implications.
Well, she's not a particularly good Home Secretary, so it is it is possible that she is incompetent.
She was also protesting against Israeli goods in Sainsbury's, so we know what side she's coming from.
The MP for is it Lady?
Is it Ladywood? Yeah,
Ladywood. That's her.
Claire Short, wasn't that used to be?
I don't think that she's what you think she is. I think that she is once again in the camp of, let's not admit they're all just big racists.
Yes, I think, I do think it's that.
Because it looks bad.
It looks bad. But then it is the fact that woman is now the Home Secretary, and that's quite an important job. It's not like she's Culture Secretary.
Also, the other thing was, I mean, I thought it was pretty pathetic, the whole, some of them are thugs, some of them are... when have we ever banned an entire football club?
Yeah, they're hardly like, some of those Galatasaray or even like Millwall or Leeds. Maccabi Tel Aviv, that's just a joke, that is.
I mean, even the Dutch... I remember when this all kicked off, I remember reading about it, the Dutch said they arrested like 80 people. Only one was connected to the actual football club, and the rest of it was...
They weren't Villa fans.
They weren't,
They were just people from most of them were Liverpool fans. We're not even that, really. Glory hunters.
I think the other thing you've got to remember is there's some things that are both true and don't prove anything. So we arrested some people who were drunk. Well, I mean, there's 10,000 fans.
Yes.
Right? The fact you've arrested 5 doesn't really, tell you a great deal, does it?
But again, it is the fact that this guy felt very comfortable withholding that level of information to a parliamentary select committee, and then seemed really surprised when
shows the state of it.
Because I think he was genuinely shocked he got into trouble. I think that is the concern.
Well, it was like when that minister, was it Darren Jones, said, these boats are full of women and shit. They lie so much that they think, I've got away with that, and they say the most ridiculous one, and then it gives the game away.
Whether it was a lie or he actually believed it, which I don't know is more concerning.
They lie so much, they think, I'll get away with that, I'll get away with that, not realising how obvious it was.
That was what I was going to ask. The question is, but I'll explain it. Who are they? Right. So, okay, you and I all agree on this, which is this is all about politics. This is all about religion. This is all about geopolitics. There are a group of people who literally say, and they do openly say it, we don't want any Israelis here. What? Are the police cowardly? Do they agree? Is Craig Guilford just all over the place? Who is he? I think it's hard to say.
If anything, I think he's somewhat of a bystander caught up in a situation that's a lot bigger than him, if I'm being honest. I look at the people that are involved as community leaders and, the fact that you've got those particular operators, and I use that phrase loosely.
The people that appointed him, the police commissioner in Birmingham, there's a lot of people who need to go.
I mean, he's basically trying to position himself for a run at...
The Corbynista.
Mayor. Yeah, he went to West Midlands mayor, that's what he wants. That's why he heaped praise on him as soon as he retired. Because his position disappears, doesn't it?
And retired.
Good.
150. He's 50.
More importantly, not barred from ever holding a police position again.
He'll go
in as a consultant.
150 grand a year. He's 52.
Pension.
Yeah, I know.
That might be 4.5 million.
I have been bagging on about the pensions in the public sector for a long time. It is the
he's suing. He said, "I've not had
all of the man."
The audacity. But don't forget, Sue Gray did that when they booted her out. She wanted more money.
But he is suing. He is suing for something, and we will go to break. But he is suing for something that we have lamented for a long time, which is this. I did my best, therefore you should be happy.
Yes. Yeah, I know. But the thing is, I actually think he did do his best, which I think is a bigger problem.
Trying to play the victim. I did my best.
I think, but I cannot play the victim.
Can I tell you what would happen? If you did your best and you were crap, we'd just boot you out.
Exactly.
Get out. 0344 499 1000. Hello from the undercover migrant. Great tempo on the show tonight. Flashback to where it all began for me. Don't know what that means. It's talk. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. So, look, we've had a bit of a debate about Shabana Mahmood and whether she's good or bad. I think she's a bit of a G-man, but she's all right.
Yeah, I think she doesn't live up to the hype.
She wasn't. Well, I mean, none of them do.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's not even much hype.
But she was particularly kind of. Even the people on the right would say, "No, she's a tough one," and I was like, you know, maybe for a.
I mean, they're so nondescript.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that Lord Lucan is hiding on the Labour front bench in the Lords.
It's quite funny, actually.
I'm convinced.
I was here earlier today, obviously with Ian, and Lord Frost was on before, and I said, "Can you name half of the Shadow Cabinet?" And he went, "No." And I went, "Neither can I." And I think, not the Shadow, but also the Cabinet, because this is part of the problem. The talent in our Parliament is abysmal. It is abysmal, and I don't think it's going to get better. I'm afraid. But
she's cutting a number of police forces.
Yes, she is. This is quite an interesting story. So I'm catching up on it, but it seems to be
which is Pete code for. I haven't seen it until
no, I have. No, it's only got released a couple of hours ago. But it does seem.
Nevertheless, Pete,
I know,
not good enough.
Give me a chance. I haven't said
he hates when you do that.
I really do. Actually. Yeah, I don't know why. It's a fragility thing. But I will say that it seems to me that what they're doing is they're cutting the number of police forces down, and there's going to be a reduced number of officers, and they're going to redeploy certain ones into certain fields of crime.
12 mega forces.
Yes, yeah. This has been on the cards. I think Theresa May floated this at one point.
I'm against it.
Yeah, so
but didn't they do that at Police Scotland?
Yeah.
And they're not very happy in Scotland.
Well, it's Scotland, so I imagine they're not very happy in general. I'm going to get shouted at for that. But I do feel that, it does seem to be an interesting...
Apparently it's too bureaucratic, but they don't do that with the NHS. They should all buy as one unit in the NHS.
Here's what I don't understand. I actually think, I'm the only person seemingly who thinks this. I think the direction of travel is the other way. When local authorities got bigger and bigger and bigger, and people forget that a police force is a local authority, when they got bigger and bigger and bigger, it was because of economies of scale. Now when you have cross-border working, you can make them smaller and smaller and smaller. What you could do is you could follow the United States of America. And that is to say, you could have effectively the constables on the street, what they call the sheriffs. You could have that just in your local council. Then you could have, obviously, these police detectives that are regional, and then obviously the national thing, whatever. What worries me is this. The more centralised these police forces get, the better they become at criminal investigation. But there's no actual policing. Don't police the streets.
So this is the thing. This kind of repositioning is actually off the back of the West Midlands situation, but it's to have a focus on bobbies on the beat. If I hear that phrase one more time, I think I might just become a criminal, because it is ridiculous. There are no bobbies on the beat, not really, and I feel sorry for the frontline officers. They are being let down by the College of Policing, the top brass, who are the biggest problem and all need firing.
But if you go back, even when we were kids, what happened in my village was this. You go into the pub and go, 2 bikes have been nicked, and the copper who lived in the police house would go, "Oh, that'll be Mickey."
Yeah.
Right. Now, the reason what the police think bobbies on the beat means is literally people walking around. What it means is being part of the community.
Yes, it does. And I remember
living in the area.
Yes, so that was a big one. Yeah. I do remember a fund was put together to get police officers to live in the area, because I do know that there was a time where they didn't live in the area for safety reasons and all that kind of stuff. But it showed to work, because you actually do community relations the way you're supposed to, not driving around in a rainbow car.
When I worked at Windsor and Maidenhead Council, we had a major problem, and it was this. Obviously, Windsor Castle is the Met, and obviously Windsor is the Thames Valley Police. Now, if you work at the Met, you get, I think, £3,000 more per year because of London waiting. So if you literally cross the street, you get £3,000 more. So I said, well, so we're losing all of our best people to the Met. I understand that. So I said, hang on a second. We get all this social housing. Why don't we put together a load of housing and we just say, right, Thames Valley police officers who work in Windsor will give them the property for free. And then the Thames Valley police said, we don't think they'd want it. What, you wouldn't want a flat in Windsor for free?
I know.
Right? And then they admitted it. They said, we don't like our police officers living in the community. And then they came up with this really odd thing. They might be harmed. How many police officers got murdered in the pub off duty?
I think some people have been watching The Wire, or things like that. You know, it's not really like that, to be honest. But I go back to your point. Is actually when you had actual community policing, you knew who the police officer was, and there was a kind of we can sort something out without it being really formal, but it still gets sorted out. There was a kind of areas actually govern themselves better when the bureaucracy was taken out of it. This seems to be just putting more bureaucracy in. It is a power grab as well. Shabana Mahmood wants the power to sack police officers.
I'll tell you what I would love.
Not very comfortable.
I'll tell you what I would love, and this is almost the police house thing. So forget statistics, forget crime, right? Because we all know crime statistics nobody reads anyway. Right. The great thing about the police houses was this: there was basically a bloke responsible for making the area fine. Now, presumably in Loughton he didn't bother with cocaine dealing because there wasn't much of it, right? But he would base it on that, and he would make sure people felt happy and all that sort of thing. What's happening now with community policing is the chief constable decides what the community wants, and then these people go to these meetings with community leaders. It's always a dubious thing. Community leaders, and they go, "Here's our priorities for the area." Or I don't care. Also, who's a community leader?
That is. I was just about to say this.
Like interfaith forums. I hate interfaith. Interfaith forums.
Anybody with a lanyard. Gone.
The community leaders should be the council and the MPs. We shouldn't have subdivisions of community leaders.
This is half of the problem. We have allowed communities and within communities to have such a stranglehold on that area that the police can't go into it. Not in the physical way, but in terms of an actual tackling of crime.
Imagine this. You gave. I mean, I would love this. You gave a constable, basically, a ward. And you said, it's yours, you live in it, right? And you've got to make people happy, right? And whatever. And we could maybe poll on whatever. But fundamentally, you're in charge and you get on with it, right? And you decide on that basis, right? That's the way to do it. You start having people with some level of pride in the particular area.
Yeah.
Whereas all this, and also, let's meet the multi-faith forum. Has anyone ever been to one?
I mean, also, when we're saying multi-faith, let's be real, there is also, there's that element of it. But
I mean, like prayer rooms, I'm
not being funny. I would rather have a vasectomy than listen to the synagogue and you know, the bishop and all sit there talking about community relations. And there's only 4 of them there.
I know. Also, I find it quite funny we call it communities because you know, I think you make a good point there. It about
separates
pride.
Everyone.
Yeah, but about pride in your local area. The reason everywhere feels a bit run down is because nobody actually owns anything. Nobody has that. That's my bit of, you know, the community, so I'm going to look after it. When everybody rents and feels economically unstable, you don't invest in making your house look nice. You need to pay for the thing.
Different cultures treat it differently. They care about their clean house and don't care about the streets. Okay, we've got someone's having a go at you, Peter. This is from Marty Allen. I think you're talking rubbish. Reform will have people in place. Labour had nobody in place. Reform has the manpower to do this. I was at the rally on Monday at Newark, and they will get the professional people they need. Remember, we need a fresh start. Marty Allen, Newark on Trent.
How are you getting a fresh start where you've let Robert Jenrick, Nadeem Zahawi, you've let Dean Doris, Jake Berry? This narrative has gone. This is the one thing that Reform haven't realised yet. Their moral authority doesn't exist anymore.
I think that's a slightly unfair answer. I think the problem, and my comment to Martin would be this. There is a requirement for a fresh start. The problem is the civil service and the system is so rigged against democracy that they also need professional killers. Now, you are saying, and you might be wrong, Pete, they need thousands of them. They do not have thousands of highly experienced people.
No.
If you bring people in from business...
my thing is also, they are riding high, predicted to be in government, and they still haven't got them. It's also the fact, money. They don't have the money. Even now, the Conservatives are out kind of raising them on the kind of basic donations. That is a huge problem. You know, campaigns don't run on patriotism. They run on money, on lawyers.
But won't they get a lot of money as it gets nearer the election?
Nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough to get the infrastructure
the problem that Reform will have, and I'm not obviously a Reform Party treasurer, I suspect the problem they will have is this. The Conservative Party are very good at raising money for the cleaner and the receptionist. What is incredibly hard to raise money in politics when you go, somebody goes, donate £1 million. Okay, we're going to have this ad campaign. Then you go, actually, we don't need an ad campaign. We need Farage to have a car, and we need somebody to clean the toilets in HQ. And then they go, yeah, I'm not doing that. The Conservatives are quite good at that.
Yeah, because it's that duty kind of aspect.
But let me ask you this question. Clearly, Martin is partly right that they've got people. That big councillor base will be helpful.
It will, and apparently they've been offering parliamentary seats to Tories to jump ship. So that's.
I think that ship sailed.
Yeah, but I think that's why the deadline is.
Nadhim Zahawi played badly.
Okay, so he, I think, is linked to the Telegraph. That is his usefulness. He has actual direct links to the Abu Dhabi fund, who still own the Telegraph, and that's where you get the pact. Because what it will be is it's a kind of not the Telegraph become yay reform. It's do it for the country, take out the Labour Party, do that. I
got told that they have taken on some people that they fundamentally don't like because they know the blob.
Yes.
Pete, can we have your final thought? We've got a minute left.
Final thought is...
Pete's final thought.
Reality, Donald Trump has just started the New World Order and he stopped World War III. Sadly, I do think our veterans have been the British victim in this, but they have helped save the world, is the way I'm going to pitch it.
Right, that's Pete Barnes, and if you want to hear a bit more of that, he'll be back with Kev tomorrow evening from 7, so you'll all be tuned in for that. And also, What Just Happened will be on tomorrow from 9 p.m, so make sure you tune to that. That's me, Kev, and it was going to be tomorrow, but it was Vanessa from Makeup, because Samara didn't make it because she was up.
Oh, the other Vanessa. Oh, that Vanessa.
Yeah, the other Vanessa. Yeah, oh, not that Vanessa.
Yeah, well, I mean, that Vanessa's all right. The other one's a bit of a trouser.
0344 499 1000. But next, it's our mate Dave, Phil Dave, talk presenter, bon vivant, and wearer of cravats. So join me and him and Andre.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and I also want to welcome Phil Dave, but you have a new status, don't you? Down the local, is it called?
Indeed.
So you have been a phenomenal producer behind the scenes, but also you're now becoming a presenter, which I absolutely loved your shows over Christmas. Tell us a little bit about the new show.
Thank you. Blimey. I wasn't expecting that, but thank you very much.
You basically go down the pub and get drunk with a guest and discuss stuff, and it goes on YouTube.
I wish it was that simple.
Yeah. On the Talk YouTube.
I have to be really controlled. Basically, it's a show that sort of goes. We're going to.
I set you up quite well, though. You've just ruined it, right?
Yeah, you ruined it.
Ruined it. We go to different sort of pubs across the country, speaking to punters about all of the subjects that are really irritating us at the moment, and we just get their reaction. But also we take some familiar faces as well. So some of our favourite talk contributors, they'll come along with us and have a little chat. And so, yeah, it's just a great way to combine two of my favourite things, broadcasting and boozing.
You've done one already, haven't you? We've got a little clip,
first one was released today, and the idea is to release them every Thursday at 1 o'clock on the Talk YouTube
if you don't get too drunk, maybe you will.
Sorry, where can you get it again?
Talk YouTube.
It's like daytime adverts on Channel 4, isn't it? Where can you get that again? That's right.
Yeah. Right, we got a little clip of it. Here we go, Down the Local with Phil Dave Down the Local. Let's have a look. Show the dog the rabbit.
And welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCown.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Maya and Central, Nathan. I think I saw Duncan Barks down there.
Joined us. Clem Muldoon also popped along, and
are there any?
Pete Barnes might.
Pete Barnes, he gets everywhere. Harry Hill. Yeah, I saw Harry Hill.
I mean, we all know, obviously, staff here that can't be relied upon if
can't hold the drink.
Right.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who are you not willing to have on the
Well, I tell you how you'll find out. I tell you how you find out the answer to that is watch the show.
So that's what day is it? Every Thursday?
Yeah, Thursdays, 1 o'clock on the Talk YouTube channel for now.
The first one's out after this show. Don't watch now.
Yeah, so just explain to me, and I know this is meant to be the press preview, but how does it work now? Because obviously we're building up the YouTube, but also people can watch live. So that there's going to be a load more content on the YouTube channel?
That's right. So you'll see that there's already sort of more creeping in. Obviously, we've got some of our regular favourites. You know, Kevin O'Sullivan's Plank of the Week. We've also got
what just happened on Tomorrow from 9 with me, Samara and Vanessa.
With somewhat
Grumpy Old Men, of course, with Mark Wogan.
Talk Women
and Jeremy Carl.
There now
Talk
as well.
Women.
And, yeah, absolutely. So
what is that?
Well,
Plank of the Week tomorrow.
It's a superb show. What are you talking about? It's on the YouTube page. So
Ben Habib's on tomorrow and Plank of the Week at 1 p.m.
Well, there you go. So I mean, there's absolutely no.
It's a whole smorgasbord.
There's nothing.
Something for everybody.
There's nothing that anyone couldn't fail to be happy with.
You will never. So I think the show is excellent, by the way, but you will never defeat a show that was on 18 Doughty Street, an early internet TV station. It was called Sovereign's Parliament. It was the Sovereign pub with Norman Tebbit and 6 London taxi drivers talking about it.
I wouldn't try and compete with that. That sounds like one heck of a lineup.
At best, uncompliant. it was just, yeah, I agree. It's disgraceful what's going on. And they just got hammered and just slagged everyone off.
And also, if anyone has any suggestions of any pubs that they want us to sort of
come to my brewery.
I'd love to.
You know, I own a brewery.
He's got a brewery.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think we've got to do it in a pub, don't we?
We've got another little clip.
It's got a bar.
It's got your bar. OK, we'll do it in the bar.
Let's have a look. We want more of that. Let's have another look at this Phil's new show, Down the Local. Run the VT. Let's have a look.
Do you believe drivers in the UK are under attack?
No, I don't use the car enough to be very attached to it. So I think we're all right. I think pedestrians and cyclists are more under attack than car users.
Well, I think the EV mandate is absolute nonsense. You cannot force all of the blame on climate change on ordinary people trying to get around. So in London, for example, you have people being charged to go through Blackwall Tunnel. You have the congestion charge. You have all of the other charges. But actually, you need to look at the root causes. You need to look at big business. You need to look at the big oil companies and so on.
Well, as I don't drive and don't have a car, I don't know.
Well done for designing our mugs on what... That was John Gaunt at the end there, wasn't it? Yeah. Well done for designing the What Just Happened mugs. They're beautiful. We've got some new... Make sure you tune in to see the new mugs. Right?
Most people with a buzz cut, their heads are like largely spherical.
Yes.
Yours is more like...
It's
oblong.
Stretched,
it's oblong.
Yeah, I don't quite know what
it's
happened.
more like
it's full of brains.
Tutankhamun.
Well, I mean, okay, I can only assume that somewhere in there is a brain trying to get out, but it has done a very good job of hiding itself.
But your head's more of an oblong, isn't it, Rob?
He's got a back.
Maybe I was dropped on the head as a baby, which would explain a heck of a lot.
It can be the forceps when you pull you out. Anyway, press preview.
Anyway, sorry. But thank you very much. That's a very nice plug.
Tomorrow's papers today, the Daily Telegraph. 4.5 million to be denied voters, more polls. Nothing to see here, just an authoritarian sort of playbook idea. If you're going to lose the elections, the vast majority of Labour Council cancel them.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that they sort of say, no, this is nothing to do with cancelling elections or being worried about what the polls say. It's actually because there's no point, because in about a year after that, we're going to change the way all of the local councils work anyway, so why would we bother wasting taxpayers' money?
Yeah, but we know they're not. It's sacrosanct.
But here's the thing: we all know that it's probably they are probably going to delay what they do to reshape local councils anyway, and all it will mean is that Labour, where they are in council already, would just stay in power even longer.
I think the real concern, and I don't know if this will be proved to be right, is the claim that has been made in Essex by the Conservatives, which is somebody needs to negotiate the terms and conditions of these new councils. If we had an election, that wouldn't be us, because we'd get beaten. Right, so remember what I mean, most people forget this, but you have your council, but you also have the constitution of the council. All this stuff gets written in advance. The people negotiating the new constitutional settlement are people who have abolished the election because they know they'd lose.
This genuinely feels like, for the first time in my lifetime, I'm fairly sure most people's lifetime, it genuinely feels like this is borderline living under dictatorship.
Because, I mean, this law only came in 2000. Blair set it up so he could do exactly this. This is what he brought in. Obviously, there's a conflict of interest. You can't have politicians opting to cancel
it abolishes the very core of democracy that we love in this country.
And then he gets people delete comedy clips about Starmer and bans people from coming to the country who've made fun of him. This is all authoritarian playbook stuff.
It's extraordinary, the number of people who are not allowed to say any hurty words that might go against the government and then wind up getting punished. But if they say something that actually this government agrees with, they might not say it out loud, but if it says that, if they say something they agree with, nothing to see here, move on, it's fine.
Can I go to a story that was in the Telegraph a couple of days ago? And apologies, I'm only just back on Talk.
Very well.
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine, but Rob Garson, who is the lawyer to Donald Trump in Florida, has an interview with the Telegraph. He's born in Britain, he's from Manchester, now he's moved over to Florida. And he says that there are negotiations in the White House to offer asylum to every single Jew in the United Kingdom. Now, it's not been agreed, but what's your thinking on that? Before you answer, I'll tell you my thinking. I think the warning shot needs to be fired. I don't think we're at the stage of people needing to leave, but the idea that the United States of America would take every Jew is something that...
Some families have already left.
Yes,
if you've got young kids, you're thinking, well, there's no future for them in 20 years. Definitely not. I'm leaving. I know the guy who campaigned against anti-Semitism who moved over there.
Gideon Falter.
No, it wasn't him. Another guy from one of those campaign groups.
Oh, I see. I
met him a couple of times. But yeah, a lot of people are already moving and planning ahead. But people are saying America is probably... It's probably not much better in America, though.
Well, no, that's actually the irony is that, of course, is that a lot of the problems we're seeing over here is actually happening the West over.
Yeah, but they're sorting it out more in America, aren't they? Sort of.
But the reality to be less.
The reality is, it's clear that Garson's the attack dog who's deliberately stirring the pot. But I think the central point that the United States government is unclear that they can trust the UK government to look after Jewish people in this country. I think that is significant in of itself.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Exactly the same way that you don't hear them really sort of saying, that we think that sort of those who are of Christian heritage should be granted asylum to move to America just because of their religion. The truth is that it is Jewish people who are by and large under attack, certainly when it comes to various political movements in this country. However, I would say that as a British Jew, someone who has been born here, raised here.
You're going to move to New Orleans? I'm thinking New Orleans.
I don't think I would move to America. I've absolutely made it clear that my intention one day is to wind up in Israel. Absolutely it is. Because why would I stay here?
Will you get on with it? You're very English, aren't you? Well, no, I know you've got South Africa, but you're very sort of English. Will you get on with those the fast pace of Israel and the hot sun on your head? You have to have a hanky on.
I'd always have to wear a hat.
Don't worry, we can get it. I'll cream your head if you want to. It's fine. I'll get the
what factor is it?
That wasn't a joke. No. Don't draw attention to it.
That's the best offer I'll get all week. Anyway, the point being...
So what happens if I turn round as a British person who feels a great sense of pride in our opposition to Nazism and says... I'm offended by Jewish people leaving, but I feel that it shouldn't be happening.
Well, don't be offended at the Jews, that's what I'd say. So,
if I am?
Then your offence is misguided, because you can't possibly be offended by Jewish people who are just trying to live their life in peace. They don't want to go about their daily life. To be confronted by stickers that say boycott Israel or
the reason you would be offended is because you would say to yourself, we are confident we can save this country, and you are not confident in us.
Well, let me put it this way. I have no intention of going anywhere for the moment. I certainly don't plan on moving to America. I know some people who, since the 7th of October attack happened, have moved to Israel just because...
That rattled you, didn't it?
It rattled some people, not me, personally. Look, I was obviously very unhappy by what I saw.
It was the response that was more rattling. It was
exactly. This is exactly it. What rattled me more and what angered me was the way that various Western governments just graciously accepted that somehow it was okay to use a terrorist attack, people, get a grip on this, a terrorist attack on primarily Jewish people, but there were others involved as well, and I'm not saying that because I have to say it, I'm saying it because it's important for people to know. It's not just an attack on Jews, it's an attack on Western values.
I think,
and this is what
we
need
what
to
do you think the 7/7 bombings were? It was the same people that did Borough Market, it's all the same, the Manchester Arena.
The point being is that they are using an attack on primarily Jewish, but other people as well, which was terrorist-funded, terrorist-related, terrorist-backed, as an excuse to attack Jewish people in this country. That's what irritates me.
I think the 7th of October was much more significant, perhaps, than even you or I might recognise. And I'll tell you why. Because, obviously, it was terrible for what happened in Israel, all this sort of thing. I think British people began to panic. And I'll tell you why. Because they were cock-a-hoop on the streets of London. They started protesting outside the Israeli embassy before the attack had even finished. And then there was a demand to cancel the Remembrance Day events in order to have a pro-Gaza march. And then the British, the police said that we should take down the flags at the Cenotaph because they can't be protected. And there was a great sense, I think, that this is the country now. You know, we are anti-Israel. You will comply with our wishes on this. We don't care about your people who died in the First and Second World War. We care about Hamas and Gaza. Cancel your event.
Oh, no, totally and honestly. I mean, there have been sleeper cells in this country for decades now. It's absolutely pathetic, pretty much since Blair's government, when he opened the floodgates. And the way I look at it is that it actually was a wake-up call for the West, but at the plus side, and I really believe this is a plus point, is that I genuinely don't believe we would be seeing the scenes we're seeing in Iran at the moment if it weren't for the 7th of October, because the Western world woke up, and the true Iranians, the Persians, as I'm going to call them, because there's idiots wander around saying Free Palestine, try chanting Free Persia, that might actually do some good. But the Persians who have gone around saying, we've had enough, we want our country back, I think they are the most inspirational people.
I mean, there is
well, of course, October the 7th did start that, because, of course, Iran bombed Israel, and Israel then wiped out their... so the people have gathered, you know,
absolutely,
strength.
they feel they're more powerful.
But what is going on? Have you heard about what's going on? What's the latest in Iran is? Because it seems to have gone quiet.
Well, the reason why
people aren't giving up.
The main reason it's gone quiet is because it doesn't suit, sadly, a number of the mainstream media channels' narratives. That's what the problem is.
Disgrace.
So that's the main reason they've gone quiet. But rest assured, Iranians are still uprising and keep going.
I think there is a problem with Iran, and I think sorry, what a stupid comment. So first of all, let's just be very clear. people from Birmingham are marching through the streets saying Iran loves the Ayatollah and Jews are evil, right? Whereas people in Tehran are saying there's one democratic country in the Middle East and we want to copy it, right? I think the problem, it seems to me, with Iran now is this: can Reza Pahlavi actually fill the vacuum if the Ayatollah goes? And I think there is a feeling in Washington he can't.
Well, the only reason that I'd say possibly is because I actually think that if you think of the amount of support that Iran is, so the uprising has at the moment, those who are being vocal, now think of the number of people who are staying quiet through fear of losing their lives. And then when eventually the Ayatollah is overthrown, which there is zero doubt in my mind, this time they are going down. Okay, this is genuinely, I truly believe this is Iran coming back now, or Persia coming back now. And when that happens, I think we'll see that there'll be an awful lot more who are saying, at last, we've got our country back.
Well, you know my theory on Iran. When the minister responsible for water stands up and says, we've mucked it up, they're out of water, right? And they cannot do anything about it without the assistance of Israel. The reality is, Iran has to collapse now, because ultimately they have run out of water and they've got no means of dealing with it. Now, I don't know if that means they collapse tomorrow, next week, wherever, but it's over.
I think it's imminent. I really believe it. I truly do, because I don't see any other way back for this now, because the people of Iran are not going to tolerate
think Trump's getting I think he is gathering troops together and ships, and I think he is coming on. He's going to, carry out his word. But this is a big operation, because they want to defeat Iran because Iran do have a lot of big missiles that they will fire onto Israel, and they want to make sure they totally envelop them.
I'll tell you what you do. And the Israelis would be able to help you with this, with things like technical expertise. What you do is you get Iranians and you go, right, you are going to be the governor of X area, right? We're going to look at what you need to do, but we're going to have these people ready outside the country, right? How many police chiefs do we need? How many, where is this infrastructure and that infrastructure? And I think what I would do, now it's slightly different, but if you look at the Irish Republic when it was illegal, they basically set up a government, and they knew where the MPs were, they knew everything, and now obviously it's not perfect, but what you could do is you could literally land 5,000 to 10,000 people and say, he's the head of the water supply, he's the, blah, blah, blah. Now, it won't be perfect, but
don't you think the problem with that is then that's just another unelected authority?
Well, I think the risk is that there is just chaos and the people with the most guns win. That's the risk.
Oh no, that's normally how it works. That's primarily because of the Ayatollah and their following. That's what they do. That's the only language they speak.
What you are looking to do is to land and announce an election for a year's time, taking control of it. Because without being funny, you've got to decide who you shoot and who you rehire.
Like a government in exile, like what the Chargassians have set up a government in exile.
Exactly.
Yeah, look, anything is possible. I don't know whether or not it's going to happen overnight. It would be interesting to see how it works. Maybe if America does go into Iran, and then maybe they sort of set up some sort of temporary government structure to say, look, we want to hand over total control to the Iranian people, the true Iranian people.
I think.
And that we will do
It's
this.
not like the Syrian guy.
I think part of the problem is that the Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, has not demonstrated that he could walk in and set up a genuine, sensible government.
Should he have been flown in by the Americans? That would rouse the people.
With respect, in 20 years, he hasn't written a constitution. I mean, he had 20 years.
Lazy.
Right?
Yeah, but he's not written a constitution because I suppose he's kind of known.
But he hasn't done anything else.
It's over.
But he also doesn't want to show he's political. He wants to be like a British monarch, doesn't he?
Yeah, but what you've got to do is I would suggest you've got to go on the TV day one and say, here's the plan.
Maybe, but I suppose what he's doing at the moment is he's just focused on, quite rightly, encouraging his people to... Because obviously, don't forget, he can't live in Iran at the moment, because if he does, he would die.
Yeah, we should get Maya on tomorrow to talk about what's going on.
It's more about that if you've got a figurehead of this movement, this uprising, which is what he has been for the last how many years, then I suppose he's got one job. It's kind of a little bit like, in some very strange way, so hear me out when I say this, a bit like Nigel Farage, in the sense that he's sort of like the most hated figure in politics, and yet now, because the people of Britain have had enough of the political elite, and they are finally starting to rise up against it, Nigel Farage's job, if you like, is about to change quite dramatically.
But if you look at when the United Kingdom took over Basra in Iraq, right, the first thing that they did was rehired all of the police officers that Saddam had, and said, you're now under the control of a British chief of police. The next thing they did was the following day, they organised a football match between British soldiers and local kids. The reality is, you've got to take control of institutions, which the British were very good at and the Americans were very bad at.
Well, I mean, certainly if Afghanistan's anything to go by, that's for sure. But I think it just depends who is.
It's hard to know what to take control of in Afghanistan.
I know, but is there much to take control of?
The dung or the straw.
Anyway, look, we're going to take a little breaky. 0344 999 1000. We're going through the papers. Also on the Daily Telegraph, it's only Prue Leaf can save Britain. Is she going to join Reform? Because, of course, her son is Freddie Krueger, the defect from the Tory party, who's now with Reform. Yeah, Freddie Krueger. His mum is Prue Leaf. And on that bombshell, we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Phil Dave. Asher.
Right, OK, Daily Mail, and how the Peltz-Beckham rift is at heart all about social snobbery and wealth. And did you see the story about the wedding when Victoria, Posh Spice, got the singer to announce, right now, the first dance of the evening, and the groom is going to have a dance with the most important lady of the day, and then invited Posh Spice up. And apparently she was all over him, like a bit unsavoury. You don't want your mother nuzzling your neck, do you? You don't want... gyrating on her son. I mean, she obviously had a few, and she's a spice girl, but your own son, he's embarrassed to hell.
I just don't care about the Peltz and
Actually,
would you gyrate with your mum and nuzzle her neck?
But
would you nuzzle your mum's neck? He won't answer it.
I think.
No, but I wouldn't have
would you nuzzle?
so.
I think you're wrong not to care, and I'll explain why. So first of all,
he hasn't answered.
I don't know the Beckhams, but this central thing that we don't have a life, we have a brand, I think actually is true of a lot of young people in this country to a lesser extent than Brooklyn Beckham. And basically his argument is, you know, I got married, we have a press tent, and you know, and she jumps up for the first dance because that's what's going to get into the papers. And the reality is we don't have a real life. What we have is a public image. Now, I've got to be honest with you, I don't think that they're doing it deliberately to be nasty to him. But fundamentally, how many people under the age of 30 don't actually live their life? They're making a documentary about their life, you know, sort of take a photo of my dinner and all this sort of thing.
He's a chef photographer, a very unique job.
This guy was one of the first people to just be just a media, I can't use the word.
Well, like Paris, what's her name, was one of the first ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he never chose to be. I mean, you know, a press tent at his wedding. I mean, obviously.
But then, if that is the case, then surely the most respectable thing one can do for this chap and this young couple leave them be. Stop putting them all over the front page. Stop pretending like anyone cares. I don't.
What if...
I care about the cost of my bills. I don't care about them.
Isn't the real allegation that Victoria Beckham is incapable of recognising that there's a difference between family life and public brand?
Maybe, but it's who cares?
Well, I think it matters. I think it matters because everyone now is a mini version of that.
Fine. I'm not fundamentally bothered about
There
may well be people who look to this kind of lifestyle and aspire towards. They'll sort of say, "Oh, I'd love it. I'd love to live in the limelight. I'd love to get papped every time I leave the house."
I got papped.
I know. That's why I set you up. Excuse me. I'm working with you. I set you up for that. You can now tell your story.
I've been set up too.
We'll probably find out tomorrow.
The point being is that if people want to live their life like that, fine, that's their own problem.
Yeah, but to people...
But I care about the state of this country. I care
Why
about...
don't you care about Brooklyn Beckham and his relationship with...
I'm sorry, Phil. I genuinely disagree. I think that the things...
I'm happy to disagree.
No. The things...
It's boring if we all agree.
The things that you value, I think are being eroded. So as an example, a lot of young people, it seems to me, and I might be wrong, look at us and go, I'd like to be famous like them. Whereas we think of ourselves as people who maybe were journalists, maybe were commentators, whatever. I just worry that people don't live their lives, they just make an Instagram documentary about it.
Because they've got the wrong impression of it's fame comes with a job, not a job comes with fame.
Yeah,
but now fame is the job in itself with social media.
But this is the problem. Is
that
unfortunately people have got it the wrong way round. So when they look at sort of the great film stars of yesteryear, those film stars were there because they were amongst a very few people who actually took part in films, but it didn't mean that they actually sort of asked to be in that limelight. They might have loved it, who knows? But now it's just because anyone and everyone has got the chance to do this. Like you say, they're shoving it all over social media, and they think that's enough. There are people I know who will go around recording their daily life as if they're on the Truman Show. You ever watch that film, The Truman Show, where they sort of think the cameras are following them because their adoring public loves them?
Jim Carrey,
embarrassing. But also, 75% of teenage girls would wear a filter on their face permanently if that was technically possible, right?
Probably will be soon.
Similarly, a lot of young... So, look, Phil, you have worked damn bloody hard to get this new show on Talk, right? Let's not go over the top about it, but young people looking at Instagram... see these Lamborghinis and Bentleys and Dubai this and whatever. They don't understand what is important in the world, and what's important is, you've gone from being a producer to a presenter, worked your backside. They don't see it.
No, but that's symptomatic of society as a whole. Because of course the problem we've got now is that we have bred successive generations to recognise this world of instant gratification. You can have whatever you want whenever you want. All you have to do is say I want it, and then suddenly you got it, and it's nonsense.
And having a Lamborghini makes me a good person.
Well, maybe.
Depends what Lamborghini you get.
Look. My argument. I continually give the example of a Lamborghini.
Depends how you get it.
If you want a car to drive fast, buy a Lamborghini. My comment about it is people believe that materialism is a route to happiness. Look, if
social media that's done that.
If you need a big house, buy a big house. If you need a fast car, buy a fast car. But don't exchange a real life for a pretend life on social media.
But that is what we've encouraged, and this is why actually sort of changing direction ever so slightly.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
I'm all in favour of banning under-16s from social media for this very reason, because I actually believe that all it's doing is telling people, look at everyone else, you're in constant competition because, of course, and I'm afraid to use the cliche, they're living their best life, because that is all we see on social media. No one is going to have the tenacity to put on social media if they're having a rubbish day, or if they're feeling down or something like that, or if they're not wearing makeup. I mean, I put photos of myself on social media where I wasn't wearing makeup, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get at is that you're not going to have someone who's going to make themselves deliberately look rubbish and say this is normal.
But it's like at my school, like in third year, where everyone claimed to have a girlfriend and nobody ever met them, right? You know what I mean, right?
It's the same woman.
Yeah. the nondescript.
Budget rent-a-girlfriend.
She's blonde and called Susan. But obviously, there is a great pressure as a young person. There is a great pressure as a young person to feel that you are as good as other people. And I understand that. I just feel that we've turbocharged it with this social media.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And this is why I say that it is time to crush it and get rid of it. But what is not helping is by putting people like the Beckhams, like the Peltzes, whatever the heck they call themselves.
Didn't Vanessa Peltz used to work here?
Yes.
She wasn't very good.
In the limelight by saying, right, look, this is normal. You two could be all over the front page of the papers if you want to, just for existing. This is nonsense.
But
don't
what about...
care.
What are you talking about? He's obsessed with it, isn't he?
But what about the other problem of this? And I think we saw it with Prince Harry as well. Right, Brooklyn Beckham is clearly just an average guy, right? And he's been foisted into this position.
What's his talent,
Well, his talent is...
He's a cooking chef.
Right.
Photographer.
He's an average person. The problem is he's unemployable because of his position. Can you imagine him trying to, when he was 14, getting a weekend job at Tesco's? Right, it's just completely impossible.
Did you see his chef? He made a bacon sausage sandwich and then he squirted tomato sauce, and it was an American this is our gourmet. I mean, it was ridiculous. Anyway, we've got a little break here. We're going through the papers. We're going to come back with the Daily Mail. Does Andy Burnham even
have the bottle? No,
have the bottle. No, he hasn't got the bowl. He'll be on the bottle. But give us a ring, 0344 499 1000. We'll ring you back. And also you can send us an answer machine message on WhatsApp on that very same number. It's Phil Dave with Andre and Ash on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Phil Dave. By the way, in the next hour, we're going to take all of your calls, 0344 499 1000. Loads of slots available. I'm not going to tell you how many. What is it, 6 or something like that? So if you phone now, you'll get through.
You said I'm not going to tell you how many.
Yeah, but I couldn't count it quickly.
Oh, I see.
Don't tell them, Mike.
So you will get through to a producer. What's next, Asher?
The Daily Mail is next. Does Andy Burnham have the bottle? He revels in his self-aggrandising King of the North image. A plum Labour seat is now up for grabs, but he'd have to get past Starmer's allies and Farage. Labour was descending into civil war last night as Burnham was offered a route map towards replacing Starmer. Disgraced former Minister Andrew Gwynn yesterday ended months of speculation by confirming he's standing down from his Greater Manchester seat, opening up a path for Burnham to return to Parliament from where he could
surely
launch a leadership bid.
So I get that the NEC is very political, right? I get that, the National Executive Committee. Surely they can't veto Andy Burnham. I mean, it's just so ludicrous.
But to be honest, even if they did, and even if Burnham did sort of take this route back to Parliament, I just love the way that people think that he's going to be the saviour of the Labour Party, because then what about all of the other trash that's in there as well?
He's slightly above the trash, though, isn't he? He's just a little bit better than the trash.
Problem. I mean, so what are you going to do about Lammy? What are you going to do about Rachel Reeves? What are you going to do? You know, there are so many other individuals in there who are abhorrent examples of Labour politicians, and I can't for the life of me work out why people think that suddenly, just because Burnham...
Because he's slightly above them, isn't he? He's slightly above them.
What? But I mean, it's not a great barometer. Wes Streeting's slightly above him, but it doesn't mean that if Wes became the Prime Minister, suddenly Labour's troubles will be over.
I've got to be honest with you. I completely 100% agree with you. I'll tell you why. Because I don't see a point of the Labour Party. Well, OK, Andy Burnham's going to be slightly better at running a dreadful, nightmare, irrelevant government, right? Well, you know, who dances down to the ballot box for Wes Streeting? I mean...
it's hard to argue with that, yeah. I mean, I must admit, look, I'm fairly sure that you've met your fair share of politicians in your life, Andre, but I don't know if you've ever met Wes. He's
just an all right bloke.
I was going to say, I actually think he's quite a nice chap, if I'm honest with you. I don't necessarily agree with his politics, far from it, but at the same time, I happen to think that he's a likeable individual, you know, on the fact that he can be civil. But there are some politicians you come across who, I'm not going to mention names, but let's just say that they are in government at the moment, and you come across them and you just think, you are just a nasty person. I don't like you.
But also, so let me give you an example that we can all kind of understand, right? If Asher Gould was on the ballot paper, you would know what.
Hands down.
But you would know you would know what's going to happen. You'd know what he was like, bombastic in the chamber, you know, irreverent, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, man, yeah.
You know, with Wes Streeting, you think.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going to happen?
And you've got to have that X factor, haven't you? You've got to have that bit of pizzazz about you.
You
no
wouldn't be
one's
able
got
to
that.
call the speaker Mr. Bubba, though. You'd have to call him Mr.
that's
Speaker.
true.
I mean, Wes Streeting looks like a man who wears white Y-fronts from Asda. I mean, look, come on.
I've
Do you know
never
what I mean?
thought of it in that way.
But you know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, I could imagine watching a Wes Streeting speech and falling asleep.
Maybe, but what I'm trying to get at is that I'm not saying that I'm not sort of here to like launch the campaign of Wes the PM, but I'm trying to get at is that out of the bunch that we've got at the moment, he seems like the lesser of the evils. And it's exactly the same with Andy Burnham. I can understand why Andy Burnham is sort of becoming quite popular, because he's got this backdrop of such I nearly said something I shouldn't say it. He's got such a backdrop of nonsense that's making him look good.
But the reason why Nigel Farage is popular and remains popular is this. Being good at running the system is nothing. People just go, we don't like the system anymore. We think it's dreadful. The thing is with that, it seems to me somebody has to go and say, things are going wrong. Here's how I'm going to fix it. You know, the whole, let's give away the Chagos Islands and abolish jury trial. Oh, you know, abortion.
Cancel local elections.
All of the issues that Starmer has raised are at best completely irrelevant.
At best, they're completely bonkers to a lot of people.
So
one of the first things that he did, let us not forget, in fact, I think it was the first thing he did, is as soon as he walked into to Parliament and walked into Number 10, is that he and his delightful Chancellor gave a whopping great raise to all of the train drivers who were striking
with no demands.
With absolutely no terms and conditions. So Kelsa-Prees, they're about to threaten to strike again.
They said at the time they were going to strike again.
But so no terms and conditions for that laid out in place. And if that isn't embarrassing enough for him, he then turns around and he says, oh, by the way, we've got this, or his Chancellor says, we've got this £25 billion black hole. Well, guess what? It's because you gave 16 billion of that to the train drivers.
And they just spent 65 billion on all kinds of things in their first couple of weeks.
Can you imagine standing up and making the following speech? Young people in this country, aged 15, 16, 17, have no prospect of being able to buy a house in their community. But don't worry, we've sorted out assisted dying and given Chagos Islands to Mauritius.
So they'll be all right.
Oh, and don't worry, we've moved all illegal migrants out of hotels and put them into barracks, rather than deporting.
I mean, it's literally, young people are in a nightmare situation. What have we got? Abortion, assisted dying, Chagos Islands, you know, human rights this.
Houses, a house now costs about 300 grand to build, just building material.
Guidelines, let's not forget them.
But a house now, right, costs 300 grand to build in labour materials and all that sort of thing. A house up north isn't worth 300 grand, so there's not going to be any more house building.
You've got a crisis of mental health amongst young people and lockdowns, and we're arguing about whether people with a penis should go to women's prisons if they wear a dress.
Basically.
I think you should be in prison for that.
But no, it's bigger than that. OK, this is the problem. Is actually, we've got a very, very serious threat going on, and thank God for Donald Trump. We've got a very serious threat coming in from the Middle East in the form of Iran, and there's sleeper cells who are in this country right now. This is not something that they're going to do. They've got people who support that regime right here.
They've got their own sort of little pseudo embassies, the IRGC.
Absolutely, and it's very simple, right? They will attack when Iran is attacked. So rather than us getting ready to deal with something like that, we're busy turning around and saying, oh, well, we're going to have to delay our guidelines on trans because we're not entirely sure what a man or a woman is. It's ridiculous. But this is not what we need from government.
But I also object, and I'm saying this to you as two British Jews, I think you'll agree with this. Right. Gaza was not the biggest political issue for Britain, yet we were force-fed it by the BBC night and day, as if... So, basically, Israel gets attacked and they're getting rid of the terrorists. Get on with it, right? But suddenly it becomes my number one issue, more important than housing, more important than health.
Yeah, but not because of the Gazans, because it was a way to have a go at Israel.
Exactly
but
right.
It's worse. There are MPs who've been elected to Parliament on the Gaza ticket.
Exactly.
This is how insane it's.
This is a big win for Gaza.
And let's be very clear about this, just in case, because I'm sure that Asher, you would have said this a few times, just in case people don't realise, you've got a situation where Israel as a country or a landmass is the size of Wales. You've got Gaza Strip as a landmass is the size of Birmingham. Right? And this is what the world's turning on its head for. So they're mad.
The reality is our entire governmental system, whether it be the BBC, whether it be Parliament, are obsessed with stupidity. I'm very sorry for what's happened in Israel. I'm very sorry. But it is not the number one political issue in this country. No. For 18 months, we've been forced.
They've been captured, haven't they? All these institutions have been ruined out from the inside, rotten from the inside. Anyway, we'll go to another break. Phil Day's with us. 0344 499 1000. Give us a ring. We'll call you back. We've got Rob, Heather, Cindy, Jerry and Tristan, our mate in Southend.
Oh, Cindy.
Yeah, fantastic. We'll be back in, well, just a jiffy.
Oh, yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Talk with Andre and Ash, and tomorrow from 1 p.m, Plank of the Week is on. Oh, yeah, so that'll be Kev and lots of panellists, but also Ben Habib is going to be on. And it's going to be on YouTube from 1 p.m. Let's have a little taster of what's going to happen.
Oh, there you are. Welcome to another extraordinary edition of Plank of the Week, and I've got an extraordinary panel for you. The excellent Chloe Dobbs, the effervescent Steve N. Allen, the remarkable Candice Holdsworth, and returning hero Ben Habib. So let's get going, shall we?
Yeah, that's going to be a rip snorter. What have you done? What have you done?
You're quite all right there, Andre.
That's Chloe, Candice, Steve Allen. He's lost a lot of weight. Stephen N. Allen and Ben Habib.
I don't think they heard that, did they?
What did you say?
Well, I'm not going to repeat it. Right.
He's very excited because Ben Habib. Look, let's have a look at Phil Dave. Look how excited Phil is.
Yeah, this is totally about.
Look how excited he laughs.
Sorry.
He laughs.
No, I'm very happy to see Ben Habib.
They want us to read out that you look like a magician. That's nicer than what I said, isn't it?
Don't worry. I'm well aware. Do you know what? I mean, I was actually thinking to myself, maybe this would be more appropriate. I can't look at you at the moment. I was thinking to myself that I look more like a barman, which might be quite useful for the whole down the local thing.
It is, yeah.
But no, I don't deny that. There may be an element of magician about
that. That is almost as bad. I'm not going to say which celebrity it was, but years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when I was new on Talk, they played a clip of somebody who came back too early and went, well, she's clearly on the gear. And it went out.
It's good to know you haven't changed anyway.
Do you know what the producers say about me? They go, when he knows something he shouldn't say, you can see the eyes going.
Only say things that you don't know. The Times, again, will Nigella put the sauce into Bake Off? Is she going to be doing Bake Off? Let's have a look at those scones.
Just screwed up the Times for
I know,
I'm
sorry about that. I don't know why, it's just muscle memory. I used to do that, didn't I? I used to throw them at people.
They're our friends.
Yes, our friends, they're downstairs, aren't they? The Daily Mirror, I could screw this one up. No regrets, Brooklyn and Nicola moving on from Beckham's Rift with romantic stroll. And there they are. They didn't know, of course, there were photographers there doing that. And insult to the fallen, shameful. Trump dismisses sacrifice of 405 Brit war heroes. Are trying to have a go at him. Trump sparked fury last night by saying UK soldiers did not go on the front line in Afghanistan. Some 405 British servicemen and women died in the 20. They definitely did.
So let me just ask whether we believe this is true.
Don't believe.
Do we believe that Donald Trump went to Davos yesterday and organised a calculated insult to British war dead in Afghanistan?
No, I mean, I think of everything that he said, it's quite bizarre the Mirror would pick... Actually, it's not really bizarre. I don't expect anything less from him.
Actually, bear in mind, you can die in a war and not be on the front line.
Well, so this is what I was going to say. I don't know about you, but I don't know how those 405 heroes died, because, to be honest, it's possible they weren't on the front line.
No, they were on the front line. I've seen, we've all seen footage of them under fire.
Absolutely, but my point being is that sort of it's...
irrelevant.
I just think of everything he said, really.
They still got killed, 405, whatever they did. Totally. They still sacrificed their lives.
Absolutely. I'm not excusing if he did say that. I think it's a very bizarre
I don't believe he said
it,
but
he says a lot of bizarre things, but,
Yeah, but they would have manipulated it. Anyway, that's the Daily Mirror.
There's no way he set out to launch a calculated insult on the dead of Britain. I mean, it's just garbage, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Ridiculous. Daily Express show of love again. Brooklyn and Nicola hand in hand after his riff with... She's a bit like Posh Spice, isn't she? But you know what they say.
Like 50 times richer.
Segment
I think that's an element, isn't it?
There could be an element.
I'm considerably richer than Yao.
Yeah, considerably. Express reporter calls for national plan to focus on mental health support. Britain needs better care for cancer patients. Charities campaigners expressed today urge ministers to ensure mental health is a key part.
Can I ask you
As
this question?
long as we're looking after illegal migrants, that's all that matters.
Look, on this whole mental health thing, how about we end punitive taxes? How about we make sure that we don't have lockdowns that damage people? How about we stop police knocking on people's doors for hurty words? Maybe that would help mental health.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely an element of that, but I just think in terms of the fact that we allow people who are going through the worst time of their life to feel even worse, I just think that says so much about the country. I think it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing that this country's even got to that stage.
I think I worry about two things. So, number one, I think that young people have had their development damaged by lockdowns. I think the other thing is...
And social media.
I think the other thing is when people go, I've got mental health problems, right? And I'm not saying this in order to be disparaging, but if you've had a bereavement in the last month, you don't have a mental health problem. You're depressed because you've lost a relative. It's not a mental health problem.
Well, so the way to, I think, look at it is that I think people look at mental health as an expression and think that's a disease, if you see what I mean. So the way we actually need to think of it is everyone has physical health, everyone has mental health. Everyone, okay? Literally everyone. Now, some people have very good physical health, some people have very good mental health.
Yes.
And the truth is that there are times when people would feel a bit sad and depressed because that's normal, by the way.
Yes, correct.
But we somehow now have got to a stage where we magnify this, blow it out of all proportion and say that if you're feeling a bit sad and depressed for 1 or 2 days...
Or anxiety, that's a new one, isn't it?
Somehow
Anxiety.
there's something very badly wrong with you. Well, actually, no, it's not. There's not bad. It's human emotion.
And also, I remember when I worked at the House of Commons, I met this lady. I didn't do many surgeries, but it was the MP happened to be off. And she sat down with me and she said, look, my husband was diagnosed with cancer and it went on for a long time and he ended up dying and obviously, so we've lost that income. She said, I had to be at his bedside, so I lost my job as well and we lost the house. She said, obviously, I'm very depressed. I'm on antidepressants. And I said to her, stop. And she said, why? I said, look, what you have to understand is an antidepressant is there for people who, due to a chemical imbalance, are depressed for no reason. The reason you are depressed is because things have gone badly for you. You need to go through that process properly. Do not add a drug addiction to your problems.
Maybe, but can we just make it very clear that obviously none of us are medical experts in this, and we obviously need to encourage people to follow medical advice.
Sure.
However, let me be very clear that my comparison being is that with physical health, in exactly the same way, if someone has, say, a strained wrist, they're not going to panic and think, oh my God, I've broken my wrist, when they know that it's not broken. Unfortunately, because the understanding surrounding mental health is not as abundant as the understanding of physical health, people are being led to believe that they have something more serious than they probably actually have. And unfortunately, because the demand is so vast, because of all of this storm that has been collectively stirred up by the woke elite, unfortunately what's happening now is doctors are even more overwhelmed, and the quickest remedy they can do is say, well, here, take this, it'll make you feel better.
And it takes 2-3 years for people who are genuine, because there is genuine depression, and they can't meet a doctor for 2 or 3 years, and some of them actually don't make it in the end, proper serious cases.
What happens, right, I'm just going to be provocative here, unusually. What happens if I do...
who are you? What you
if I do what a lot of, you know, people in the public eye do, imagine I went on this show and said, oh, I'm depressed, you have to feel sorry for me. And people said, you're a TV presenter, you've got money coming in, get a grip. What if that happens? What if they go, do you know what, stop moaning?
But there's always going to be someone who says stop moaning. You might get it on a larger scale because of your public image, but the point is that there will always be someone who'll say stop moaning because they're unempathetic and unsympathetic towards it.
Isn't there now? I think there's a virtue in being a loser.
Well, no, but to be fair, I mean, you say virtue in being a loser. I put it to you that human nature says that everyone champions an underdog. It's always been that way, if you think about it.
Yeah, but in America they like winners, and here we don't like winners, do we?
Oh no, we get very jealous.
I mean, you know, we don't venerate people who go, I suffered from mental health problems but got through it. We venerate people who just sit there moaning about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because...
It's a victim culture.
Yeah, but well, I was going to say, I think it is a victim culture, definitely, but it's also because it's slightly worse than that. It's because they sort of believe that based on the way that society behaves towards individuals who may be in that predicament, genuine versus those who think they're in that position as well, is that it's almost encouraging them to do it. It's exactly
it's enabled.
the
It's like when a kid cries and gets their way, and then they learn to cry more.
You literally just took the words right out. It is literally on the basis that if you were to I'm sorry, it's going to sound very unsympathetic to people who genuinely do have mental health
I'll tell you the other thing.
But if you were to sort of say, to give in to a child who is misbehaving or kicking up a fuss, that's teaching them kick up a fuss. And
spare the rod, spoil the child.
I know I'll get criticism for this, but when I worked in Parliament, you know the big ones would turn, I got a thyroid problem, I can't work, I've got a thyroid problem. You go,
no, you haven't.
Oh, just lose some weight. I never said that.
But that is actually another classic example of where we've gone very wrong.
I can't work, I got a thyroid problem.
But no, but this is genuinely, it's another example of where we've gone very badly wrong.
Apologies to anyone who does actually have a thyroid problem.
I'm not criticising people who have a genuine complaint.
Look, let's make it very clear that every single thing that we have said, we know that there are people who have genuine complaints. There are people who genuinely are depressed. There are people who genuinely do have thyroid issues. We get all of that. This is not attacking them.
People in the thyroid community get depressed with a low-acting thyroid.
It's attacking people who have encouraged people who don't have anything wrong with them to think they do.
Just to avoid the complaint.
I've done it.
Just to be clear.
No, but I think I've cleared it up.
Just to be clear, what will very often happen is people will get in touch, and they often do. They go, yeah, but I am genuinely this. I'm genuinely that.
Why?
What we're saying is, just because some people genuinely have a complaint doesn't mean other people are not. Actually, I don't even think they're lying. I think they've been conditioned to believe.
Exactly, that's my point. They have been led to believe there is something more seriously wrong with them when there is not. What we should actually be doing is encouraging people to... I'm sorry, this goes very much against this narrative of mental health and well-being, but we actually need to encourage people to become a bit more resilient, a bit tougher, a bit more robust, because if they don't do that, unfortunately, when they wake up and realise the real world, they're not going to cope with it.
Unless they've got a low-active thyroid.
Normally I don't give medical advice, but I'm going to give some medical advice now. If you are feeling sad...
It's probably going to be right one time,
Just take your hatred out on a left-winger. That's what I always do. Right, just find a left-wing protest and be disgustingly rude to them. Yeah. That's what I normally.
As long as it's verbal, not
By the
physical.
way, can I tell you something? This is a great story. Right, Ian Duncan Smith, when he was leader of the Conservative Party, was in real trouble. So he phoned up Norman Tebbit, who was the previous MP for Chingford. And Norman Tebbit said to him, I'll tell you what I think. So he said, look, I've got a problem. I'm losing. They're going to know confidence me. It's terrible. He goes, I'll tell you, Ian, what I think you should do. Come to my estate and come shooting this weekend. He goes, with respect, Norman, that's not going to help. And he goes, no, I don't think it will, but I always feel better after I've killed something. Well done, Norman, you old softy. You old softy.
The Metro, Gaza or Gaga? And here is a mock-up of Trump's idea and plan for building Gaza. It's beautiful. It's full of skyscrapers. Looks like Tel Aviv. The first images
to be
of
honest
Donald
with you, I think it looks more like Dubai.
It does, well, across, doesn't it? The first images of Trump's reborn Gaza have been revealed and caused amazement around the world. 180 skyscrapers could turn the coast of the Middle Eastern territory into a tourist destination, and of course it's going to be King Tony Blair.
I think the problem with Trump on this, he's looking at the opportunity and potential at Gaza, not looking at what they'd actually do.
Well, it depends who runs it. It really is as simple as that. I mean, if you have a situation where it's an international community who turn around and say, right, it's enough is enough now, we have to break this vicious cycle. And I have to say congratulations to Donald Trump, who has come as near to anyone in the last 80 or so years to breaking this revolting vicious cycle towards the people of Gaza and their suffering.
It is worth pointing out that its proximity to the Suez Canal, its coastal location, its proximity to Israel, this should be one of the richest countries on earth.
Of course,
and actually,
well, in pro rata in terms of
the leaders are rich.
In terms of pro rata, in terms of foreign aid, more foreign aid than anywhere else on earth.
And the leaders were some of the richest world leaders in the world, and for a country the size of Birmingham.
And by the way, can I tell you something else? Israel would jump for joy if Gaza was the richest country on earth. They'd be delighted.
Well, look at the deals that they've done with the likes of
this will not happen because the leadership in Gaza cannot risk Gaza being a success.
Of course not. It doesn't suit them.
Well, can't nick the money.
Absolutely. Anyway, we're going to. It's going to be. Is it Mark Dolan? No, it's Jeremy Kyle in the morning, or is it Mark Dolan?
It's Mark Dolan.
Is it Mark Dolan? Yeah, 03444991,000. It's me, Mark Dolan. I'm going to be joining you after this great show. Thanks to Andre and Ash for this, and wasn't Phil great as well? So call me, Mark Dolan. 03444991,000. It's going to be a packed show. I can't keep that up anymore. So yeah,
I can't wait for you.
There he is. There's Mark. Put your top on, Mark. Yeah, sorry, Ash. Yeah, I'm going to put my top on. You're on in a minute. Come on, get on with it. Yeah, that's Mark Dolan coming on Talk. Right, that's it. We've got a minute left. Thanks, Phil. Are you staying or are you going?
I'm going to have what we normally do is ask for your prediction, political prediction for what you think is going to happen in the next couple of days.
Good grief.
Phil's final thoughts.
Andy Burnham will announce that he is going to stand in the by-election.
And I think he'll win.
There you go. That's the prediction. But it's not exactly a matter.
Soaraway Sun, glad we did it. Brooklyn, very happy at reaction, but public put Posh back at number one. 03444991,000. The best time to call is right now. We'll get you back.
Fairly obviously, if you've got an argument with your mum, definitely press release it.
Well, right, yeah.
That's the best way to sort it out. 03444991,000. Thanks to Phil. Don't forget his show is coming out. It's out today.
Every Thursday, 1 o'clock.
Phil,
Talk Down the Local.
Down the local.
You're coming to my brewery.
Bring it on.
OK, so call us, we'll get your calls. It's all about your calls next. It's Talk with Andre and Ash.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Yeah, you know what? If you've never phoned before, give us a call, 0344 499 1000. We've got a couple of slots available. By the way, in the break, Asher and I were lamenting the thing that drives us most mad about this government, where they say things like, what we are going to do is stop migrants living in hotels. We'll move them to army barracks instead. Oh, we need to stop the small boats. We'll fly them in. No. What you don't understand is it's not the specifics of the accommodation. It's the fact they shouldn't be in the country.
No, ridiculous. And training in military camps, unbelievable. We've got Ken and Jerry. Ken and Jerry, didn't they make ice cream? Tristan, Cindy, Heather and Hertfordshire Bob. Let's start with Jerry. Jerry, go Jerry! In Burton-on-Trent.
Hi there, Ash. Hi there.
All right, man. How you doing, man?
Well, I honestly, Ash, I love your chuckles. And when you used to say Wales for James, that used to
James
really...
Wales. He didn't like that. I don't know why. It's his name, isn't it? I mean, there's James Whale who invented Wikipedia, and there's James Wales who...
but it was so good.
Or is it the other way around?
I don't know. Do you know something? Can I say this to you, Jerry? Yeah. Secretly, James Whale admitted to actually liking Asher, which was came as a real surprise to me, if I'm being honest.
He didn't like being called Wales, though, did he?
I'll tell you what he didn't like. He didn't like giving you any credit, right? He was a good bloke, but you weren't in the book, were you?
No, there was more pictures of his horse than me in the book.
Wasn't it funny, though, the way he always reacted as if you got it wrong without realising.
Exactly, yeah.
I was better than Morecambe and Wise. It was just fantastic. So, dear old Ash, we love you ever so much, and I'd like the pair of you to appear all week, because I'm fed up with all these interruptions during the week. We want a nice 7 days worth of evening.
We have you having a chat to another guy, and me and Jamie, or was it me and you? We just sort of chilled out. Was that you?
No, it wasn't me.
It sounded like you, anyway.
Do you know what we should do? Do you know? Yeah. Asher and I should do this show, right? Go down the pub, and ours will be the hardcore version, which will be getting shedded, right? And we'll just film me and Asher just getting absolutely wrecked.
You'd love that, wouldn't you? You'd love that, wouldn't you? I mean, Jerry's from the home of beer, isn't it? Burton-on-Trent.
Like, we won't bother with any guests. We'll just get ruined.
Yeah, that's what people want, isn't it?
Yeah,
I love you. That's right.
So what's up, Jerry? What's going on, man?
Well, I mean, this may be a bit fatuous and absurd, but I want to throw a curveball about who might be the leader for the Labour Party.
Oh yeah.
Now, why did Yvette Cooper go to that terrible place for the elites? How come she went over there?
Well, they all went. I mean, Farage went. Everyone went. Anyone went. I mean, some went to have a go, like Trump.
Well, how about... Could it be that the elites are grooming her for leadership, or am I being a bit too conspiratorial here?
Well, they are getting everyone who's got a bit of power in. I mean, even like people like Gary Neville.
I think it's more like there's a whiff of desperation.
Yeah. When you get Gary Neville coming down.
Please validate me. I mean, to be fair, right, so I was talking earlier about if Asher was an MP. I mean, to be fair, if there was Davos Asher Gould speech, right, it would actually be worth watching, because it'd be, you just do... Whereas these people are kind of like, oh, like me, I'm one of your people. It's all pathetic, really, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It is pathetic, and you can see they're on the way out, and they know it. They didn't even cry this time.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you, and I don't want to be nasty, but David Beckham making a speech on how children should handle social media on the day his son says, my life was ruined by my parents' obsession with sticking me on social media. Yeah. Now, look...
Who cares what he's got to say about social media?
Well, I think, guys, the problem is we haven't made a big enough deal about communism being so dangerous.
Yeah.
And how many people know how things were before, well, in the days of Mao Zedong in China?
Exactly. It's because we haven't had a sort of Nazi thing where we had the war. We have never really had that with communism, so people don't... I mean, the history is there to how it's failed, but yet people still want to give it a go.
Yeah, but I don't think they teach it, do they, Ash?
No, they don't teach it.
I think the problem is, it's this far-right thing. I find it very, very difficult to think that Adolf Hitler is a bit more extreme than Nigel Farage. Fundamentally, Nigel Farage is a small state, individual liberty person, and Adolf Hitler is big government, I tell you what to do, I decide on everything, rah, rah, rah. The reality is, I think the dichotomy is big government, small government. I think, you know, Stalin and Hitler, OK, they've got different ways of being totalitarian dictators, but I think
same sort of thing.
The critical point is that they're totalitarian dictators.
I mean, basically, when Hitler came to power, a lot of the communists thought, well, this is the new thing, and they left communism and joined Nazism. They were very similar. They used to have the parades and the healthy people, the people's this, the people's that. They were basically the same sort of thing, weren't they? Authoritarian.
But do you think all those years ago, you know, from the 40s upwards, communism was really bad news? The Socialist Workers' Party was just a rump.
You want to look at in America, the Reds under the beds, McCarthyism. Now they're running the biggest city, the commercial city, capitalist city in the world.
But I think I'll tell you what you often see, and I've seen this before today. So you know, you see people with, you know, socialist flags and communist and whatever, and you see people from Eastern Europe who've lived through it, going, it's dreadful. Now, I will admit one thing. Nobody, thank God, is ever going to shock the world more than the Holocaust, right? Because of its mechanisation, because the way it works and all that, left or right, live or die, all that. Nobody's going to shock. But actually, you know, you've got to remember that in the communist regime, more people were worked to death than died in the Holocaust, right? But the problem, I know it sounds stupid, but because the Holocaust was so shocking, we forget that there was a load of regimes in that period that were rotten, and they had one thing in common: big government telling you what to do.
Well, do you think it's got something to do with history, that this country and so many of these lefties just haven't had a good enough history?
No, I think the big problem is, we believe there's such a thing as a well-meaning genocide. I think you sit round and you go, oh, but they were trying their best. Well, you know what? In communism, they were trying their best to stick people into forced labour camps for complaining about local government. You know, I don't think these people are well-meaning. You know, look at Keir Starmer. You know, abolition of jury trial, give us all our individual tags, undermining the government to try and get us back into the EU. You know,
lying to get in. I mean, that's the thing with the communists and the socialists. They say it's all right to lie for the greater good.
So we're supposed to believe that he's a well-meaning fool. He could just be a shit.
Yeah, but what about that poor nurse, Andre, on Kev's show earlier on, who's after 2 years...
She's won the case, though, hasn't she?
Yeah, but you see, it goes again. So she's black. The paedophile was racist. None of that's taken on board. And you think, well, hang on a minute. Where's the
Jennifer Millet.
That's it, Jennifer. Bless her.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. Honestly, I just don't give a toss what a paedophile thinks. I don't care if they're offended. I'm not particularly bothered.
Why would you? Yeah.
You know, I mean, actually, I hope they're offended.
Yeah, but the lefties don't worry about that kind of thing so much.
No, because they're saying it makes me a good person. I mean, let's be clear. You know, oh, let's send a bloke into a women's change room. That makes me a good person. Does it really?
Well, they cover up for paedophiles.
Yeah. How bizarre is that?
I mean, even their own MPs sometimes.
And yet 30 years ago, you wouldn't ever hear people speak like that, would you?
Well, what you'd say, I had a friend of mine, right, and I'm going to use this word, but it's exactly what he would use. He said, Andre, I need your advice on something. He said, my daughter's come to me to say she's genderqueer, right? And he said, what do you think I should do? I said, I don't know what that is. Tell her to F off and get a life. And that's what he did.
More medical advice from Andre. He's much better than a doctor and better value as well.
Now she's fine. If your 13-year-old daughter comes to you and says, I'm genderqueer, my advice is to say, no, you're not, shut up. That's my advice.
Well,
don't know what that is, but you're not it.
Emotional navel gazing, isn't it? All that kind of rubbish.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know,
it's narcissistic virtue signalling.
I think the other thing is that you know, because we have so lost touch with what's important in the world, you know, people need to feel special with things like, you know, I've got this ailment, I've got this. Well, I mean, you know, all this. Oh, I've got. You know what? I just think you get on with things, and that's it, really.
Do you know? I know you complain about various thoughts about what Ken comes out with, but going back to my time in the late 60s and 70s, you could tell that the religious feeling that people had in those days, there was a glue of moral fibre.
Without a doubt.
Well, let's find out. Let's listen to the guy. You heard what he said, Ken. What do you think about what Jerry said? You're still there, Jerry. Let's hear the wrath of Ken.
You don't want to hear the wrath of Ken. You want to flee from the wrath of God. But listen,
Jerry, you got anything to say to Ken then? What
let's not do this again.
Going to say to Ken?
This always goes wrong, right?
God bless you, my friend, whoever you are. Listen, Jesus loves you. That's what I would like to remind you. Jesus loved you, my friend. I forget, what is your name?
Jerry hasn't asked you. You haven't asked your question yet, Jerry.
Yeah, I'll just get the word in there, Ken. But the thing is, Ken, I would like to say that one thing about religion is the 10 Commandments were pretty good basic core moral principles, weren't they? And my question to you is, do you not think that the religious society that we're supposed to...
Silence, Ken!
Hang on, before we go to Ken, Jerry, I want to ask you this question because loads of people phone us up and they say, when Ken first started calling, we're like, oh, yawn, he's a Christian. And a lot of people have said that he's won them over, not for his radical views, but the fact that he's a genuine patriot, a genuine believer who's standing up for the right thing.
He's passionate. You got to admire passion.
Not only that, he has his beliefs, but he's a good man.
Yeah.
You can tell, can't you? Every fibre of his being is generosity, and his beliefs is one thing, but he's a good man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Isn't that beautiful, Ken? Isn't that beautiful?
Ken, your turn. Thank you, Jerry.
I appreciate that very good, very much, Jerry. Thanks for that compliment. But it's God who's good. It's God who can make us good. But I would like to just talk about you. I listened to you speaking on the Iranian meeting, Andre.
Thank you.
And, your words were very powerful, but they've caused possible opposition against you when you spoke against the West Midland Police anti-Semitism. I think you were quite right to bring that up, because the West Midland Police were certainly anti-Semitic. But I want to speak to you about the power of words. There's tremendous power in our words. 45 years ago, a man spoke to me in Canada, and he said to me 9 words which changed the total direction of my life. You know what he said to me? This is at lunchtime. I was working as a bricklayer in Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
When I was 45 years ago, he said, Ken, Jesus loves you and is concerned about you. Now, these words were so powerful, I couldn't forget them.
But why did you take notice?
I thought it was when you had a heart problem and you heard Jesus.
I mean, why not just dismiss it when he said that?
Yeah.
Because this is the first time in my life that a man could come to me because in the building site it's a pretty rough place. There's rough characters in the building site. And I used to be a pretty rough character at that time. But I can believe that. This was a man who showed me love and concern for me as a person. And he looked into my eyes and he just said to me, Ken, Jesus loves you and is concerned about you.
And did you get a feeling or something? I mean, like Andre says, he's just...
Why did you listen?
Yeah, were you in a state of mind where suddenly that just hit you?
No, at first I said, this guy must be mad. And in my mind I said, this man's crackers. But
like what people think when they hear you for the first time.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
But listen, these words remained in my heart, and I began to think about them. And it caused me, as a 35-year-old man, to turn to God and begin to pray to Jesus.
But why him? I mean, it must have happened to you before. Someone said, "Oh, you should start doing," you know.
No,
it never happened before.
Ken, can I tell you what we're driving at? If that man had said exactly the same thing when you were 20, would it have had the same impact?
I don't know, Andre, but this is the first time it happened when I was 35. Maybe when I was 20, I don't know. All I know is these words were very powerful to me, and they caused me to think about my life, and it caused me to start to search for God. I was happily married, had 2 houses, had money, had a lovely family, but there was something missing in my life. It was a relationship with my Creator.
Well, let me ask you about people who you know, have never had that opportunity. You know, how can we you know, communicate with people about the fact that there is a better world out there, there is a better way of being out there?
That's a very good question, Andre. The answer is to tell people the word of God. Jesus loves you. Jesus.
Yeah, but you've done that to us and it hasn't worked. So why was those words so powerful and yours don't work?
Because you're not willing to listen.
Yeah, but you know, you're not doing it as well as that bloke did.
Oh, but you're not.
You want to try harder and do it like that bloke did on the Building Society. You might have more success.
Most people I speak to don't listen to me, but some do. Some who are.
But I think if you look at my speech at the Iranian thing, I was talking about the fact that people in a position of responsibility have a duty, in a sense. The fact that it was Jews at Aston Villa was irrelevant. And I think one of the things that people like about you is you inspire people just by being a genuine person who's committed. And I think, you know, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to be respected. If you are a street sweeper, but you're very good at it and you put your heart and soul into it, then people will respect you for that. That's the way you make the world a better place.
Here's a thought, Andre. The words from my friend George Bomey, he's now in heaven now, he's a born-again Christian. Mm-hmm. The words I heard later, 3 weeks later, after praying to God, reading the Bible, I heard God speak to me, driving down the highway in my truck in Canada, across the river from Detroit. God said to me, God the Holy Spirit said to me, gently into my heart, driving down the highway, he said, Ken...
Avoid Detroit, it's a real dump.
Next turn in 1 mile.
Listen, Jesus loves you and died for you.
You have arrived at your destination.
And those words changed my life. I asked God for forgiveness.
So you've got two things that change your life. You've got the voice of God and the voice of the builder.
Yeah, but you...
Well, you've just greedy.
You mock the voice of
This is where he goes, starts calling me Antichrist. Look, Jesus was my Jewish brother.
Always winds him up, that does. Hell without Jesus as your Lord and Saviour. Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
the highway to
it's
hell.
Not working like the builder, though.
I'm telling you the truth, Ash. I love you.
Thanks,
but
man.
You're on the highway to hell right now because you continually mock Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
Well, I'm not the Messiah. I'm just a very naughty boy.
By the way, we're cutting Ken off now because it's the end of this segment, but I will say I'm apologising to Ken because I did have a video of me and him together. I must get that because actually I quite like seeing Ken because you know how people go, oh, I've met a famous person. So like Ken's quite famous to me because he phones in all the time.
He's famous around that. I bet there's a lot of people who listen who Ken has. If you've been inspired by Ken, give us a ring 03444991000 or text us in. We're very busy. It's Talk with Andre and Ash. We'll be back in just a little segment. Just 2 minutes.
You've done that well. Here we go. Keep going. Keep going.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk
Yes, this is Talk, and this is Andre Walker and Asher Gould. By the way, I just want to ask you that question that we had in the press preview. This increasing discussion in the United States of America about political asylum for patriots and asylum for Jewish people. So effectively, the government of the United States of America is asking whether there comes a point where they should give people the right from the UK to leave the country because they're being bullied by a left-wing government. If you've got thoughts on that, 0344 499 1000. You know, it's an interesting topic. Who are we going to next, Asher?
Also, the NHS, if you're Jewish and you go in the NHS, there's a lot of anti-Semites, you know, a lot of... We saw in Australia with nurses threatening to kill. There should be a medical asylum in Israel, because a lot of people would be scared to go to hospitals here because of all the...
What about that? Who was that MP who said, "Oh, I always get better treatment because I say I'm anti-Israeli and pro-Gaza"?
It was a doctor that said. It was a doctor who moved them to the front at A&E, and nothing ever happened to her. I remember it was a minister. I think it was Jess Phillips who said, "Oh yeah, my doctor said, oh I'm."
Hey, by the way,
and put it to the front. Well, that's a disgusting. By the way, should have reported that doctor.
By the way, I do want to say one thing. I went to hospitals in Israel where both Jewish and Arab doctors and nurses were treating people who were both Jewish and Palestinian. It is
they bring people from kids from Gaza for cancer treatment and all that, and that's how they get
simply not true that all of them hate each other. Anyway, let's move on.
All right, let's go to Andrea in Merseyside.
Merseyside, mate.
Hello.
Yes, hi, Ash.
Where in Merseyside? Are you in the Wirral or...
That's not Merseyside, that's Cheshire.
Tranmere?
Yeah, it's St Helens.
St
Helens, mate.
Yes.
Where the volcano is, yeah. So what did you want to? What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's about the. I mean, Iran will fall there, and I do believe the Shah will be back in that country within 6 months. I'd just like to give you some numbers. 11% of them boats, of the people who come in boats, are from Iran. In 2024, they were one of the top 5 nationalities that was coming over, claiming asylum into this country. In 2024, there was 8,099. Now, between 2025 and 2024, there was 62,000. And from numbers when they was kept from 2025 up till now, 114,432.
And these are people claiming asylum, but a lot of them were sort of with the IRGC, so I don't really understand what's going on there.
What I'm thinking is, surely them people should be given some money and a safe rite of passage on, and should be sent home to rebuild their own country.
I'll tell you one thing. I think that the impression I get is that, first of all, I think a lot of people from Iran are genuine refugees. I get the impression that a lot of them want to go back, not necessarily because Iran's lovely, but because they really want to rebuild the place and help their compatriots. And I think, certainly I know Maya Tuzi is desperate. He probably won't live in Iran, but desperate to be one of the first people back. Now, he's got a really good business in Britain. Obviously, he would be better off personally staying in Britain and doing his thing, but he's determined to go over and help, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, I did see some protests over the weekend and yesterday and today that are being held in Manchester, where a lot of Iranians have been out, and a lot of them people were saying if that Islamic regime falls, they want to go home.
Oh yes.
And what do the leftists? Because in Manchester, in Manchester, you got a lot of leftists, you know, anti-Israel and all the guys, bro. What are they doing about? They're not marching for the Iranian people, are they?
They've not even been out.
They don't care about that.
Mob and all them lefties, they're not interested.
Exactly.
They've not
showing their true colours. They want the people subjugated by the Islamist
I'll tell you what they can't bear. They cannot bear that the Iranian people look to Israel, A, for moral support, and B, as a blueprint for what they could do in their own country. And you know, even imagine saying, I hate the Israeli Defence Force, but to be fair, it'd be nice if Iran was a democracy like Israel. They can't even spit out that much. Can't even say
their
that.
enemy, Israel, their enemy's enemy is their friend, and Israel are the enemy of the Iranian government, authoritarian government, and they're really helping them out, and that's why you see
I'll tell you what,
them flying Israeli flags.
I'll tell you what I also thought was pathetic. the BBC attempting to attack Donald Trump for what he did in Venezuela. He's invaded Venezuela. No, he simply hasn't. He's removed the legitimate president. No, he hasn't. He rigged the election.
A non-elected dictator. Yeah, he's another one. That's all that.
He's a drug lord.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be clear. He lost the election. Then he jailed parliamentarians for trying to not certify the election. Then he created his own parliament, chosen by him to support him. Then he stacked the Supreme Court to vote in favour of him. Oh, he's the legitimate leader. No, he isn't.
I mean, they're all gangsters. I mean, Putin's a gangster. The Chinese leaders are gangsters. They're all non-democracies. They shouldn't be in the UN. They're all basically mafia run.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my take.
By the way, what's the best thing about St Helens, apart from the crime, poverty, and ignorance?
And the volcano.
Our rugby team.
Oh, really? OK, well, we should have had Pete Barnes on.
Rugby league, rugby league up there.
St Helens glass. They make great glass.
They make what? Great glass?
They do. Big glass producer, St Helens.
Oh, do they? Is that where that famous company, what's it called, the glass company?
St Helens Glass.
No, what's it called?
You've also got St Helens Junk Shop, which is the name of the train station because it's got a junk yard.
Well, that's just St Helens.
In the train station.
Oh no, it's St Helens Central.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Is it all right, St Helens Town Centre?
It's not the Garden of Eden.
It's going to be falling.
Has it gone downhill?
Yeah.
Just a matter of interest. Just a matter of interest. Towns like St Helens obviously have seen quite a lot of demographic change. Can you give us a sense of that? Is a load of kind of asylum seekers or immigrants coming in, or has it been?
Yeah. I've been organising a protest at the local migrant hotel, and it's just like influx of them. St Helens Council took 6,000 in last year.
Wow.
Over the next year.
So what's it like to have a migrant hotel? I mean, are we just being unfair, or is there actual real problems associated?
We've got some terrible crimes what have been happening here, what have been covered up. The parents have been told not to tell anybody or discuss the crimes. We've had rapes, we've had sexual assaults, we've had a 14-year-old lad thrown out of school. He's been indoctrinated into Islam. The family, I've been doing interviews with the family, so much so that young boy of 14 is on the government prevent list.
Just explain to me this whole don't tell anybody that your child's been assaulted. Tell me that story. How does that work? I mean, clearly you can't name names, but go on.
No, that works. Right, if there's going to be a prosecution.
Oh, OK. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And we can't do that either because it predetermines the trial and it's unfair. It's interesting. Do people in what do people in St Helens want to do? Do they want to start moving the migrants out, or are they rubbing along?
Well, it's two things really. They want them out. Well, we don't want them here. And it's like, it's a Green Party or whatever. If they want them, let them come into their area. If you don't want them here. One of them lads was moved out to that migrant hotel, was given a house. It's not the St Helens Council anymore, it's tourist. He was given a flat in Newton-le-Willows. And what did he go and do? He went and attacked that nurse in that Newton-le-Willows hospital just over Christmas. He's straight out to that migrant hotel. Yeah, he's straight out to that migrant hotel. And it's just like middle of St Helens now.
I mean, it's a funny thing. So a lot of people won't know Newton-le-Willows, but I'm from Loughton. And so... a place like that is relatively small, and I always think it's a great shame that you are changing the community there, particularly when it's quite a small place. I mean, obviously, changing the community in London is something that has regularly happened for 1,000 years.
But it's ruined London, though.
But when somewhere like Newton-le-Willows suddenly gets a large number of people coming in, it really does destroy the community feel.
What's happening in Birmingham?
We are seeing now people, women, big African women carrying the shopping on their heads.
I've seen that, yeah.
We've never ever seen anything like that ever here before. People are losing their houses under these eviction notices. I did myself a couple of years ago, no fault eviction. I've been there 12 years, and a woman in that house now is carrying her shopping on her head.
I've got to be honest with you. I think it is one of the most despicable things that we've seen, that landlords are throwing out British people in favour of recent migrants because they get more money under the no-fault evictions. I think.
Even the council for our ex-servicemen, didn't they? And they were actually unbelievable.
But I want to tell you all a trick. Right, all listen to this very quickly. You cannot have a no-fault eviction if there is an outstanding maintenance issue. If you believe you are... I'm not saying...
They've got rid of no-fault evictions.
I'm not
now,
saying
anyway.
It's not gone yet. It's coming. So I can't tell people to lie. If you know a no-fault eviction notice is coming, and you happen to notice a problem with your property, if you write in first with a complaint about the maintenance issue, they can't issue the no-fault eviction.
But you have to do it before they issue it?
Before they issue it.
Right.
The day before.
I mean, we was even included in the J report in this area, and because the demographics when it was done by Lord J, some years ago, because it was less than 2%, we didn't think we'd find green.
Well, I've got a friend of mine. I've got a friend of mine who was evicted and had to sleep in her car. And the person that moved into her property said that she was a tax inspector from Lahore, Pakistan, who was using it as a holiday home. But she had friends. She had friends in the housing association who had falsified the paperwork. Now, can you imagine sleeping in your car and seeing that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll tell you what she did to get her own back. She told everyone to put in a complaint for maintenance, and nobody else was evicted. Hurrah!
03444991000. It's Andre and Ash on Talk. We'll be back after these commercial messages.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. This is Andre and Ash, and I guess we just go back to the phones. I've not been watching. Which one do you want to do,
Let's
Ash?
go to Matt. That is Matt in Dennington. Where's Dennington?
Suffolk. But Ed Sheeran lives, so we live in the same village as Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran.
But we don't know where Ed Sheeran lives.
No, he's got that countryside house, and he had a little lake, and he tried to turn it into a pool, and the council complained.
Yeah, something like that. It's actually just a wildlife lake.
Do you like him living near you, or does it cause havoc?
Doesn't really cause any issues, other than when his daughter went to the same school.
Let's not, if it's a kid.
Do you meet him down the marketplace?
Like when it paper school plays and things like that, we can't record him no more because his
No, you can't do that anyway at schools. But do you see him about? Do you?
Yeah. Well, he drops his daughter off.
Are you mates with him? Like, do you have a chat to him? Go, all right, Ed, how you doing? Man?
Not really. I mean, most of the time he's in London, like doing recording at studios and things like that. So hardly ever see him, to be honest.
Come on, Ed. You should meet the locals more. That's Matt in Dennington. You'll see him down the school. So what did you want to talk about?
Well, you were talking about Farage and you were talking about Nazis in the same sentence, and I thought it was ironic because Farage is right-wing and Nazis aren't really right-wing, and then, there's
Completely agree.
I mean, it's ridiculous this comparing with Nazis. This is why you end up with people like attacking ICE, agents and saying they're Nazis, and they end up getting killed. It's wound people up, all this, and happens in this country.
I think it's also worth pointing out that the left and right is literally where people used to sit in the French Parliament.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
We consider Farage to be a less extreme version of Adolf Hitler because that's where they might have sat in the French Parliament. It's just not nonsense.
Just ridiculous.
It's got to be about overbearing government or small government.
Yeah.
Well, it's discrediting Nigel Farage and Reform, in all fairness. But the whole acronym of Nazi is the National Socialist.
National Socialist, yeah.
I mean, what people, okay, so Stalin would have killed you for being intellectual. Hitler would have killed you for being a Jew. You're still dead. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like the precise flavour of the reason isn't that important.
Well, isn't that the irony, isn't it? Everyone says the right wing are a threat, but the right wing aren't going around blowing up ever, so...
Well, it's definitely true now, isn't it?
Really.
The Nazis are the ones that cancel elections, so...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Our elections have been cancelled.
Well, exactly.
I mean, I think the other point to make that's really, so when people say the National Socialist Party, both of them were very interested in homogeneity. Both of them were very interested in everyone being the same. Yeah. Now, obviously, in the case of the Nazis, that was a racial similarity. In the case of the communists, it was a outlook similarity.
Sort of class, wasn't it?
But fundamentally, it was all about, I am the leader and you will all be identikit and do what I tell you.
The ideology is sort of irrelevant in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with Labour, in a sense. Labour want everyone to follow their ideology, and if you don't...
And they cancel elections, and they imprison their political opponents.
Yeah, I mean, the simple view from what I can see about Labour is that they, and I think this is similar to certainly the communists, they believe that the people they claim to represent are stupid, brutish, nasty, idiots, who need to be told, who need to be controlled. I mean, when you look at their whole view on democracy, oh my God, we can't let the idiots actually decide. That's their view.
Well, when you consider it, though, the majority of the country follow like sheep, which is why we live in a very left-wing country. And if we didn't live in a left-wing country, people actually did a bit of research, studied history, and understood the law a bit more, we'd all be a bit more right-wing.
Yeah, but everyone, used to vote for the Labour Party, to go, our family's all Labour. That's probably changed by now. Surely.
Well, I came from Middlesbrough originally, which was a Labour stronghold, and I moved away from Middlesbrough because I was absolutely disgraced with what the Labour Party had done. Where I grew up, all the houses were like on the street I grew up was literally immigrants moved in and all the white people moved out. And what happened there was a lot of...
I'll tell you what I think was sad about that. Really, really sad. I think the British working class are some of the most accommodating people in the world. If you look at the Battle of Cable Street in the 1930s, where literally ordinary people went out and kicked the heads of the fascists in Cable Street, what has happened is you've had immigration that has been far, far too fast and far too extensive. And the minute anybody complains, they just get called a racist. And I think it's really unfair.
It doesn't really work anymore either.
Yeah.
Far too given as well. They give them accommodation, bikes, transport, put them through driving tests, free food. I mean, the list goes on.
Free everything.
Well, my view, and apparently this is controversial, is that in Dennington, people from Dennington should get first priority on houses, not people from Uganda.
They did bring in that law, didn't they, with the Tories at the end, but of course they got rid of it.
Well, I don't understand why they go, oh, well, hang on a second, don't put somebody from Birmingham in that house in the bullring while there's a perfectly good Afghan flying over. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I live in a very nationalist area where most of the people here are right-wing. We actually got a Tory voted in, and from that point of view, there's very little immigration in this area. I mean, I think up until about a year ago, there was all white people in our local schools. So from that point of view, we moved here because of that. We wanted to get away from all of the immigration, and the only way you can do it really is by moving into an area where there's very little social housing.
That is the concern, because there's so little immigration that what's happening is you've got the Asian area, you've got the white area, and I've said before today, and this was my criticism of Aston in Birmingham, and if you don't like it, I'm very sorry, but I say that it's effectively like a tribal area which doesn't really operate like the United Kingdom, because what doesn't happen is when, say, 100,000 Afghans come to Britain, it's not one on every street. What it is an enclave in a particular area.
A ghetto.
And well, Denmark, what they do is they say it's a non-Western zone, we're going to have to break this up.
Yeah.
Well, where I grew up, it was one immigrant and then two immigrants, then three, and it was a slow decline.
Can I ask you this question? You've been very honest, and I think a lot of people will associate with it. It's quite hard to phone up a national television and radio show and go, I moved to the white area because I'd had enough. Look, I'm not having a go at you and people don't know your surname. What was the thinking behind it? Because you don't sound like a massive racist. You sound like somebody who just wants to have a normal, stable community.
At the end of the day, I grew up in an area which was really bad. It was crime-ridden. There was a lot of violence. One of my friends got beat up and was...
But it was home.
Yeah, by a group of African lads who came over, and they beat him up with a golf club and ruined his life. And they moved out the area. Our car was getting vandalised. We had people smashing the window because the house was just around the corner from the football club. You had football supporters coming along causing problems all the time. And then there was all of the drugs that were brought into the area. Yeah. And it was just like one thing after another, and I couldn't take no more.
Well, can I ask you this question? So, look, I don't think we've done enough for working class communities. How much was the decline in that area related to immigration? And how much of the decline was just related to the fact that we as a country have not supported poorer communities?
I remember when Middlesbrough they were in the Premier League, didn't they? When they got relegated, it made the town go down, didn't it? As well as the football club.
This was nothing to do with poverty. Labour were getting cash incentives by the government to move immigrants into the area. So the government, the local council themselves actually profited by bringing immigrants into the area. And the crime actually got worse when the immigration increased. I mean, one of the things that happened, which was one of the final straws for me, is my sister got raped. She got raped by a neighbour over the road who was also an immigrant, and that all went to court and she won the case. Well, he got a 6-month suspended sentence, so he didn't even get
unbelievable.
For what he did
for that offence, he got 6 months suspended sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just want to say we are going to move on, but I just want to say, let's send our love to your sister, and thank you so much for phoning up. What a terrible, terrible story. And let's not go to another call. Let's go to the break, I think.
Good idea. Let's do that.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Let's go to Grace in London. Grace, you're on Talk.
Hi.
Hi, morning, Grace.
Hi.
Morning, Grace.
I'm still not sure if it's morning when it's completely dark outside, but I'm not objecting.
Nevertheless.
I was thinking about some of the things that were said earlier, and I would concur, of course, with what Ken said about Jesus having love for each person and how we can contemplate on that. I find it difficult to contemplate on that, personally, because I think it's maybe because of being on the autistic spectrum. Those of us on the autistic spectrum are bad at comprehending the feelings and emotions of other people.
Yeah.
Therefore, the idea that Jesus has a feeling or emotion of love for me is particularly difficult to get my head around.
I don't think he's worried, if I'm being honest, but...
No, I'm sure. But when I hear things like Jesus loves you, I find that really difficult to kind of fathom. But I came to conclude.
But when somebody says
Jesus, he likes you, doesn't he?
But when somebody says Jesus loves you, I mean, the practical implication of that is follow what he's doing. So, look, I mean, Ken has a go at Asher, but I think that sense of duty runs right throughout the Bible, which clearly Asher is somebody who follows that, being a good person, being charitable, loving your God or whatever.
That's how I roll.
There's a lot of it you can embrace without worrying too much about Jesus.
Well, no, because Jesus says that he is the way and the truth and the life. So he's telling us that the route to God and eternal life, or paradise, heaven, is him. And though I find it really difficult to get my head around emotions or supernatural things, I came to feel, the more that I read about the accounts.
But let me ask you,
actually happened.
Let me ask you this question, and this is where I depart really significantly, and I don't care. Oh God, people will get angry with me. I don't care what says in the Bible or whatever. I find it hard to believe that if we get to the pearly gates on Judgment Day and it turns out and they go, Ash, I'm really sorry, mate, but actually Jesus was the Son of God, I find it hard to believe.
Bloody hell, Ken was right.
I find it hard to believe that they'd say no to his entry to heaven. And the reason I make that point is, and I don't mean this word in perhaps the way you might imagine it, I think there is an ignorance defence, which is to say most people have the religion of their parents, right? And actually, the reason Asher doesn't believe that Jesus is the Messiah is basically because his mum and dad are Jewish. I don't mean to be disparaging, right? But it's not like he's deliberately rejected anything.
Well, also, it's Ken's fault. He hasn't convinced me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's hard
your fault, Ken.
Convince. It's not Ken's fault, but I think it's hard to convince people. Well, it's hard to convince people about anything any of the time. That's why we're all arguing with each other.
But I think there's a big difference. So I would say this. I think there's a big difference between somebody who is brought up a Christian and murders somebody and doesn't care, and somebody like Asher who, because of his tradition, is not going to be receptive specifically to believing in Jesus, and that's kind of not his fault, quote unquote.
It's not my fault.
If someone is brought up a Christian and murder someone and doesn't care, then they weren't ever a Christian.
I get that.
Yeah, but what if they repent later on in life, say I was terrible and now I repent for it, then they go to heaven, don't they?
Truly repentant, then there is forgiveness offered.
Doesn't help the person that they murdered.
But I think the point that I'm driving at is this. No matter how good a person Asher Gould is, no matter how religious he is, no matter how much he reads the Bible, because of his background, he's simply never going to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. And therefore, surely there's a defence that says, given that he was never going to believe it, do you see what I mean?
Isn't there a Jewish section in heaven?
Yeah, actually, there are quite a few theologians who do think that there is a particular... I don't know, of the four Jewish people, God has a particular concern about the Jewish people. But I think primarily it's not kind of about, are you going to be let in or not? It's actually that each person is offered eternal life with Jesus, and you can choose whether you want to be.
But once again, this hypothetical Asher Gould gets the pearly gates. If he gets the pearly gates and they go, Jesus is the Messiah, he's not going to be angry. He's going to go, well, I didn't actually know that. But I don't. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's working against anything.
If he's at the pearly gates and it's then proved that he is right, of course I'm going to go, oh, well, I'll come with you and Ken then, and great, let's go.
Do you see what I mean? He's not being malicious. He's not willfully rejecting.
I see what you mean. I think one thing that we do know is that God is just. And that God wants for everyone to come to him. But again, I think it's less about whether or not God's nice enough to let someone in, and it's more about, do you want to spend eternity with God, with Jesus? If you don't, then he's not going to force you to.
Well, I think there is another thing which I think really sets the cat amongst the pigeons, because clearly a lot of the reforms that Jesus argued for did affect Judaism, even for the people that don't believe that he's the Son of God. And so, in a sense, you know, that slavish adherence to the books of the Old Testament kind of moved away. So, in a sense, as a rabbi, Asher Gould probably does follow many of the teachings of Jesus in his rabbinical sense, but not necessarily in his messianic sense.
Yeah, it's again, I couldn't say one way or the other what God's particular thoughts towards Jewish people will be, because theologians have got differing ideas on this. But I think that crucially, you can't convince someone just by quoting the Bible. Because if they don't believe in the Bible already, why would they listen to you? I came to conclude that actually the accounts of Jesus' resurrection, as much as I can't get my head around them, do seem to add up. And therefore, I believe, even though I can't really fathom it because it's supernatural and I can't get my head around supernatural things. But again, the offer is to each person to decide for themselves. Do you want to be with God in eternity or not? And Jesus offers the salvation that we can't earn. And
can he offer it up? You said he can do it at the pearly gates, so after death can you accept Jesus? Because Ken says that's too late then.
I can't easily say. I think it's possible that people might have a moment in the process of dying where they are given a choice, but I don't really know. But I think that what matters right now is that each person can be thinking about it and making a decision, and actually we mostly just ignore thoughts about God and think about more mundane things on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, Jerry was talking about how the Ten Commandments are good rules, and they are, but we all fail to keep them perfectly, or we fail at other things that we should be doing. So what's really great is that Jesus loves us and offers us salvation.
Look, I mean, obviously we don't know, do we? But it just strikes me that there's got to be a category difference between somebody who's worshipping Satan and somebody who's a Jew. And if you go and it's the Christian God, surely they don't say, well, I'm sorry, Judaism, it wasn't Christianity. It's as bad as worshipping Satan or killing someone. I mean, surely that can't be right.
Well, of course they are different, but again, I think it's a question of, do you want to repentantly turn to God or not? And each person.
But remember, I am a Catholic because my mum's Irish, right? I mean, look, it would be silly to suggest that the reason I have the faith I have is because I chose it.
You inherit your religion. Yeah. You get allotted your religion at birth.
I don't know that that's true.
Most people.
You did, didn't you, Grace?
I didn't really believe.
No, but your parents were Christian. You wouldn't have become. Well, you might have, but you know, if they were Jewish or Muslim, you wouldn't.
Yeah, but the most common reason for somebody having a religious view is because their parents gave it to them. I mean, that is.
Yeah, that's often the case. So that doesn't mean that you can't make a decision for yourself.
Sure.
I came to believe when I thought that the reasoning stood up. One of my sisters doesn't believe in God. I wish she did, but she doesn't.
What about tribesmen in the jungle who've never come across Western people? How are they going to know about Jesus?
Oh, there are lots of interesting theories on that. I mean, again, some people would argue that they might have a revelation in their moments of dying. Some people would argue on the basis of middle knowledge that God knew that they wouldn't accept him, and so he didn't put them in a place in the world where they would find out about him because God already knew that they were going to accept him.
What about people who existed before Jesus and therefore could not possibly have heard his word.
Yes.
Again, I think that it's thought by most theologians that they would have the opportunity to turn to Jesus.
So the point is there are circumstances in which your failure to embrace Jesus is recognised as not your fault. Anyway, great.
There's many routes to Jesus.
So Yasmin, the teenage witch, look, you've got 3 minutes. Finish the show for us.
Hiya, darlings.
All right.
I'd like to say about the Jewish people leaving to go to America. I understand why they're wanting to do it, because in the Second World War, they waited around in Germany thinking things weren't going to happen. And now they're more sort of like reactive to get away from problems. Because honestly, what I see happening is, in the future in Britain, is there's going to be gangs of radical Muslims who are going to start macheteing people in the street, chopping their heads off. You don't believe me, but I see that.
We've already had that here. We've already had it on the bridge.
I'll tell you something, Yasmin, that frustrates me. I don't think we're pandering to Muslims. I think we're pandering to a few extremists who subjugate their own community as much as they're trying to attack other people. I think we should be turning around and saying, you know what, those Muslims that don't like Jews, screw them. We're going to talk to others.
Yeah, but the problem is the government is pandering to those Muslims to get the vote to keep them in. And the government are saying, let's put everybody together and let them all get on it, and it ain't happening.
They know it's not going to happen. They're just worried about their votes. They're wicked people.
Exactly, and people have got different cultures. And the problem is, they're over here, and the sort of like, how can I put it? It's like cells in different areas, and all they need is somebody to say there's a fatwa. That's it.
And you have Muslim background and Jewish background, don't you? You have lots of religions in your background, your parents and grandparents.
My grandma is Irish, but she was Jewish, and she hid it. My granddad was Muslim. My dad was Muslim. My mum